gangs and actually do it.
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister's leadership is plunged into turmoil once again.
The resignations of the Defence Secretary, John Healey, and now the Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan's, brings the total number of politicians to leave Sir Keir's government to a staggering 22.
Well, both men accusing the Prime Minister of putting Britain in danger by failing to spend the money needed to defend the nation, despite the Prime Minister's very contrary rhetoric.
My first duty is obviously to keep this country safe.
The first duty of the UK Prime Minister is the safety and security of our citizens.
My first duty, the duty above everything else, is to keep our country safe.
Is he doing so? We'll want the views of many people on the programme today, including Al Khan's. He's going to be talking to us about his resignation, as well as Business Secretary Peter Kyle and Reform UK's Richard Tice.
Well, could this latest blow to the Prime Minister's authority be the moment, the very moment, his fractured leadership spirals out of control?
Belfast awakens after a third night of protests as it's revealed that the asylum seeker charged with the attempted murder was a policeman in his home country of Sudan.
A pill version of the weight loss drug Wegovy is set to go on sale in the UK.
And in sport, well, the World Cup has begun with 3 red cards and a Mexico win at the legendary Azteca Stadium. The managing director of England Cricket, Rob Key's considering an all-out alcohol ban for England players. Good luck with that one. And Emma Raducanu could well find herself playing twice today as Queen's is washed out.
Whilst there is a bit of rain around at the moment and quite a brisk breeze for many by this afternoon, it's looking dry and also warmer than it has been through much of this week. Stick around to find out more.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, we start with the news that the Prime Minister's leadership really is in free fall this morning after the resignation of both the Defence Secretary, John Healey, swiftly followed by Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's.
In a damning indictment on Sir Keir Starmer's leadership, John Healey accused him of failing to meet the moment with his long-delayed defence investment plan later in the day. But Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch defended Healey's decision.
Yesterday, I raised the issue of the Defence Investment Plan, and the Prime Minister exposed the fact that he was not going to put money into defence to the amount that was required. And I'm sure John Healey sat there listening to the Prime Minister tell me that he was increasing defence funding when he is not. He has done the honourable thing and resigned. I am glad that he agrees with me that we need to put more money into defence.
Well, reports have circulated. The reason for capping defence spending is the government's commitment to net zero spending and, of course, the ballooning benefits bill.
Did you ever think we would get to this point where nearly every headline on the front pages of the newspapers, including left-wing type newspapers, are saying we are... Honestly, I think Lord Dannett said, we're drinking in the last chance saloon. We are defenceless. And the Prime Minister isn't doing his primary job, which is to keep us safe. We're joined now in the studio by Andy Jones. Morning. Can you believe it at the moment, the situation we seem to be in?
Sadly, I can. When you speak to anyone close to government, when you even turn on the TV or read the newspapers, you see this as a government without any thrust. Keir Starmer's an ideological jelly. He's unable to direct the country in any particular way. He seems completely vulnerable to whichever cabinet minister demands of him, other than the ones that we want him to focus on. Ed Miliband was asked if he would be able to give some money back from his budget, cut his cloth accordingly. He said no. Miliband's cost of net zero was 125 billion over the coming years, and yet John Healey Defence, which we all need, he has been given only 10 billion extra in real terms. And when you look at that, Rachel Reeves is abolition of the two-child benefit cap costs us 12 billion. We need to spend more money on defence. And Keir Starmer, one of the few things that Starmer might recognise have gone well in his term is his ability to sort of stand next to Ukraine and look sort of broadly respectable on the international front. And yet, actually, when it comes to protecting us, we have nothing. And don't let me say that. You know, Colonel Al Khan's Armed Force Minister says the brave soldiers that he's worked with and he speaks to on a daily basis are asked to do more with less. These are men who have had to bury their colleagues and various different things over the years, and they are being sent with kit that is not up to standard.
I mean, what is interesting about this, I mean, John Healey is clearly passionate about his brief. Absolutely. Or former brief. Al Khan's is... he remains a reserve. I mean, there's no question, whether you like the politics of it or not, you can't question his commitment to the armed forces, right? He was a Marine and he's still...
No, quite, absolutely.
Still a reservist. If these two people are turning around and say the Defence Investment Plan does not work, then there's trouble. There's going to be even more trouble if they actually publish the plan now.
Yeah.
They can't, can they? They can't publish a plan that nobody seems to have any faith in.
No. Well, they need to. I mean, they need to be doing something and to wrest control of the argument. I mean, to give an idea of the debt that Labour have increased, our income tax bill for the entire country doesn't even cover the benefits bill, and so all the money that we're bringing in as a taxpayer doesn't even cover the benefits bill, and so there is nothing really left for our important defence. And whether it is machinery and hardware and soldiers on the ground, or even just protecting us on a day-to-day basis, as we've seen, you know, the awful attempted beheading in Belfast. We've had, you know, endlessly on this show we talk about our porous border, and at the same time, our big brother America our relationship with them has never been worse. They are withdrawing a lot of support across Europe. France and Germany were working on a joint fighter jet mission that has fallen apart. Europe is unable, and particularly Keir Starmer, to get his house in order at the growing threat from terrorism and from Russia.
I mean, the interesting thing is, and we're talking to the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, later on this morning, you can imagine a lot of what they'll say is, well, we were left in this awful situation, defence spending's been whittled down over, the last decade or so. And all right, that's a valid point, but it doesn't provide an excuse as to we are where we are and it needs to be increased. And there's no getting away from that for this government, is there?
Yeah, I mean, the Ajax tanks debacle of however £7-8 billion was a conservative failure, yet to put a tank on the ground. COVID fraud, we've given 28 billion of foreign aid and COVID loans to, lost it to fraud and even to terror groups and this kind of thing. However, Keir Starmer has had a bad wicket and he's played it incredibly badly. He was banging the drum for this defence plan. He was saying he was a man of action, and yet we're in a position where, you know, decent men like John Healey, who's not someone that's grasping for the crown, unlike a lot of maybe Labour senior figures, Al Carnes, who obviously knows what he's talking about, they've been asked to do more with less. This is a perilous time for Britain and for Europe, and this government seems to be doing very, very little. And then also
but can they do anything on welfare? Because the big problem, and everyone says, all the other parties basically say we need to cut welfare. I mean, the Conservatives.
Keir Starmer used to say we need to cut welfare when he was in opposition.
But can they do it? Because it's the backbench issue, isn't it? They can't seem to get it through.
Well, Keir Starmer's got this huge majority, but half of his majority seems to openly dislike him and do the opposite of what he wants them to do. I mean, her department have been briefing saying, oh, well, if we spend any money on defence, it's taking money out of school children's mouths and hospitals.
Well, it is said that she goes around saying that defence spending is a money pit. That's how she sees it.
Woman benefits is a money pit, isn't it?
Yeah, but she doesn't say that. She says defence spending.
I absolutely...
So if you're up against that, I mean, it makes you beg the question, who actually is Prime Minister at the moment?
Anybody that speaks to government will tell you that Starmer goes into a meeting to speak to Rachel Reeves or whoever, determined to say, you've got less money, but then leaves the meeting having given them more. And Starmer is a man who doesn't have an overall vision. He doesn't have any thrust. He's not clear about what he is. And then so you have this whole position where everybody is able to manipulate him at any turn because he doesn't have a North Star guiding idea.
What I don't understand with that, though, on that very point, I mean, yes, there are issues with the Chancellor. There always is. It's Ed Miliband I can't get my head round. You know, he wanted to move him in the reshuffle. He refused to move from that job. He was told to free up some of his capital. He's refused to do that. How can you refuse to do it if the Prime Minister tells you that's what you have to do?
Because Starmer's not calling the shots, is he? I mean, Starmer...
Why doesn't he sack him?
Because if Miliband departed from this government or removed support for Starmer, that's the final piece that flattens Starmer. He is simultaneously pulling Starmer down whilst also being the only life raft he can cling to. And so they're in this position where it's you know, mutually assured destruction for both of them if this fails. And I don't really see a way out of this for Starmer. I think this is something that will really grab hold of people's imagination, this defence story. It feels like... sometimes when we talk about defence, it sounds like this far-off thing. But people know that Europe is at war. We know that there is war going on in Iran. We feel every day a sense of feeling less and less safe on our streets. We are seeing... I know that defence isn't necessarily about controlling our border, but we have a sense that we are very much at risk and the world is changing and we're in a position where it won't just be a sort of Cold War situation, it will be a hot war and it could get very physical very quickly, and our government not only is unprepared to spend the money, it's unprepared to make the difficult decisions to get that money to the right place.
Okay. I suppose the question is, everybody asking at home, is will the Prime Minister just hang on in as he's hung on through so many crises? But this is a biggie.
This is a biggie.
Yeah. I mean, I'll point to Pat McFadden's quote that's been circulated a little while, the quote supposedly from Pat McFadden from the Department of Work and Pensions. It was reported that he said, every meeting we have is to see who we can tax next to pay for benefits.
Yeah.
This seems to be a government that's obsessed with paying for foreign aid, obsessed with paying for foreign migrants and obsessed with paying for people that don't work and even paying for people who don't work to have more and more children. They're a government that can't say no and can't make a sensible decision unless it's no to our own forces and our own troops. And let it be said, Keir Starmer, in his previous career, pro bono, spent time actively prosecuting our soldiers. This is a terrible look for him.
All right. Andy, thank you very much indeed.
OK, shall we move on then to other stories coming into the newsroom, and not all of them are good either. Donald Trump has said he cancelled planned strikes on Iran after negotiations were taken to the highest level of Iranian leadership. The US president claimed a deal is now close, saying Iran has agreed it will never have a nuclear weapon.
A 14-year-old girl is due in court today, charged with 3 counts of attempted murder after a knife attack at a school in Manchester. A boy and a girl, both 14, and a 27-year-old male member of staff were stabbed at the Co-op Academy on Plant Hill Road in Blackley.
And around 1 million young people will be offered the meningitis B vaccine before the new academic year. The one-off programme follows a series of outbreaks, including one in Kent earlier this year, which left 2 teenagers dead.
6:13 is the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday, cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Do stay with us, because GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie spoke with Patrick Christys last night to update us on the latest developments in Northern Ireland. We'll be hearing from him.
Welcome back. We're going to go straight to Northern Ireland now with GB News' Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie, who is in Belfast for us. Doogie, thank you very, very much. So, look, what's the state of play tonight? I know last night there was water cannons, it was all kicking off. What's happening now?
Well, I'm actually in Portadown. Patrick, I've moved up to Portadown because Belfast is pretty quiet at this moment in time. And believe it or not, to actually film a riot is a bit of a science. A lot of contacts, a lot of phone numbers to find out exactly where this is going to happen. So far tonight, we haven't seen any trouble, but it is still very light. And the Police Service of Northern Ireland have brought in 200 extra policemen from right across the UK. So we don't know. We will be continuing to monitor through the night to see is there trouble in various areas, but hopefully, Patrick, it has faded out tonight. It may start again over the weekend, but at this minute in time, Northern Ireland is quiet. I'm very pleased to report. But yes, most of this is over the immigration that comes in. Portadown over the last 2 nights has also seen a lot of rioting, and that's because Portadown has a lot of immigrants in it. And over the past couple of nights, there's been a lot of houses and so forth burned in here, and the community are very, very angry about how they've been treated. But they've also been angry because of the border, the porous border that you have been talking about tonight. I actually said this on GB News 3 years ago. I pointed out the flaw in the framework document, the protocol, whatever you want to call it. and I was told it was nonsense, total nonsense. That wasn't true. But when you read stuff, and I read a lot of stuff, you can actually see it, and it is into play. Now we have people saying, oh, you can't have a hard border back, it will affect the Good Friday Agreement. Well, actually, it doesn't affect the Good Friday Agreement. I read the Good Friday Agreement. I was old enough to vote on it, and it does not mention anything about the border. In fact, it says the border cannot be changed unless there's a referendum, and the framework document actually moved the customs border into the middle of the Irish Sea. That was against the Good Friday Agreement, but nobody wants a military border in Ireland. That's a fact, Patrick. What they want is checks to make sure that people are coming in and out of the country. We know who they are, and that goes both ways. As you know, over the past few years I've been in the Republic of Ireland a lot, and all they're looking is checks on either side of the border for passports, etc., to make sure that they know who is in the country, and it's not happening. For some reason, it doesn't happen.
Doogie Beattie there. Now, still to come, weight loss pills are going to be made available here in Britain. So you won't have to jab, you can just pop a pill. How effective are they, though? We'll talk about it next.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
.621, and the weight loss drug Wegovy has been approved for sale in the UK, but this time as a tablet.
The pill could soon be available privately, but it won't yet be available on the NHS. Could this, though, make weight loss drugs even more mainstream?
Let's talk to dietitian Zoe Griffiths. Zoe, good morning to you. A lot of people will be thrilled at the idea of having to take a pill every day rather than an injection every week. Is it as good? Is it as effective?
We were really pleased with the announcement yesterday that this new pill form called the Wegovy pill is going to be available in a matter of weeks in the UK. And what's reassuring is that actually the effectiveness in terms of weight change and health improvement is very similar to the injectable format. And part of the reason for that is because it's the same medication. It's called semaglutide. It works in a very similar way. One is in an oral pill format that you take on a daily basis, and one's in an injectable format. But essentially, they're the same medication.
But you still need a prescription to go and buy it, don't you?
Absolutely. These are still prescription-only medications. And it's really important that people considering these type of medications go to regulated providers and legitimate pharmacies to make sure that they are not only being prescribed a medication that's safe and applicable to them, but they're also getting the care that they need to support them to manage side effects or to optimize the outcomes for them on their journey.
What about the cost of all of this? Is that clear? I mean, is it generally considered to be cheaper in pill form?
Well, what's happening now is providers like ourselves at Newman are working through what pricing we're able to offer to try and make access as easy as possible for people. It's likely that the pricing will be quite similar to the injectable medications. So depending on your dose, depending on the medication that your prescriber recommends for you, it could be around £150 a month, which is a significant investment, and why we advocate that patients really engage in a full programme rather than thinking of this as just a prescription, or as you said at the top of the segment, popping a pill. It's not just a prescription, it's not just a pill that you take. It should be a really comprehensive programme that you can follow that helps you shift your routines, shift your habits so that you're protecting your health and optimising your outcomes and getting the best out of the medication.
But as a dietitian, one wonders that you might be saying, oh, you know, you don't need a pill, you can do it with exercise and healthy eating. It's interesting to hear a dietitian who's thinking, wow, maybe this is the pill we've all been waiting for.
Well, yes, I am a registered dietitian. I've been working in weight management for 20 years, both behavioural-only programmes, medical device, surgical treatment. And what's definitely true is that not one thing will suit some people, will suit other people. What's really important is that there's a range of effective and safe options out there for people to choose with their clinician. And there are now significantly effective weight management treatments available. When I started my career in weight management 20 years ago, really you had behavioural programs or bariatric surgery. There wasn't this middle ground of being able to have something that is highly accessible, safe, and that delivers significant weight loss. So this new pill that has been announced that will be available in the UK in a couple of weeks helps to deliver around 17% weight loss at just over a year. So this is a significant amount of weight loss. And of course, we're talking about weight loss, but this is about health gains too. And at Newman, we're really excited to be able to offer it to people because it gives a needle-free alternative to patients where potentially that idea of having an injection or even the process of having a delivery that needs to be in a cold chain, so you need to put it in the fridge. These pills are more discreet, more simpler for patients to take, but there are differences. So I would advocate that everybody talks to their clinician about what's right for them.
OK. Zoe, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
What an amazing world we live in now, because you remember, over the years, done so many interviews with people who just say, if only we could have a weight loss pill that really worked, you know, what wouldn't we give for it? And it seems like we're here today.
David says, I've been taking weight loss medication for years. I got them on the black market. One is called vegetables, the other is salad. And I picked up a really good cheat too. It's called walking.
Yeah, we should all do that too.
I mean, if it was that simple, David,
yeah, there wouldn't be a massive obesity problem. But best thing, I've got a friend who has lost a massive amount of weight on, I think, Wegovy, but through the GP. So She hasn't had to pay for it. It's been given to her on the NHS because she needed it.
Yeah.
So it's not just for the rich, as some people are saying.
Yeah.
Really isn't.
Well, talking of money, though, and being rich, how do you fancy this? £76,543.21, completely and utterly tax-free. It's our Great British Giveaway. Here's how you take part.
There's just 2 weeks left to make your summer sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543.21 in your bank. But hurry, there's just 2 weeks remaining.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, if you're travelling to work right now or school, well, you won't right now, I presume it's a bit early. Here is your traffic and travel update. Don't forget to stay with us on digital and radio.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M8, eastbound between Junction 17 and Junction 16, traffic is slow due to a broken down vehicle partially blocking lanes. On the A55 in both directions across Britannia Bridge, a speed limit of 30 miles per hour remains in place until further notice. In the Wirral area, the M53 southbound at Junction 3 is closed because of a police incident, with all lanes blocked. Normal traffic is expected to return by 8:15 this morning. And on the trains, there are disruptions affecting Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway services between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
All right, still to come. All the sport with Paul. Morning.
Morning.
What's going on in the sports world?
Well, I'll tell you, and the World Cup has begun in Mexico. 2 games done, only another 102 left to play. We'll do that in a second.
Oh, that would be nice on the screen
nice,
behind you.
There you go.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
so get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 6:33. Paul's got the sport. A little bit of football.
Yeah, there's a little bit of football going on. Maybe for the next 5.5 weeks. There's a lot of games to play.
Yeah.
We're already 2 down as well, but the thing is there's going to be some extremely... I don't know when I'm going to sleep.
No.
The other game, they've had one already that was at 3 o'clock this morning, and then the one last night that kicked it off was at the legendary Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, where Mexico beat South Africa 2-0. There were 3 red cards. First goal was a mistake by Yaya. Now, it's Sithole, but it's pronounced Sithole.
I'm glad you said it like that. Good.
Second goal from Raul Jimenez, who's just signed back from Wolves, so 3 red cards there. And but by the way, the South African TV, it was very interesting to watch this, because obviously I like to watch the country of who's ever playing. Yeah. Now, obviously, we'll show you this in a minute. Over here, they've got the BBC, who are based in Salford, and you've got the USA, over in USA is ITV, so there's these wars about their sets. But in South Africa, I see what you think of the punditry. This is their reaction after they lost last night to Mexico. Have a look at this. Here we go. Right. This is straight afterwards. So this is live on TV. There's a lot of silence.
Yes.
Someone's going to say something in a second. It's going to happen.
Are you sure?
Wait for it. Okay. Anybody? Any reaction?
What do we say? What do we say? What went wrong in this game?
Oh dear. It's gripping television.
Well, it's not bad, is it?
Do they get paid to
I think
speak?
per word.
Yes.
I think they do, yeah. And also, they're actually still sitting there trying to work out what they think about the game until their next one. But yeah, that's what you call punditry at its finest.
Yeah.
Thoughtful punditry.
Dedication to the game. They're so shocked.
They are.
They just can't speak.
Should we have a little look at? Should we have a look at these studios? See what you make on these.
Yeah.
Now, this is the BBC and ITV. So, in Salford, BBC, they're saying they're saving money from the licence payer, so they don't need to fly out to America. They've got green screen there, and you know, whether you can actually tell the difference. Whereas the USA, they've got their studio in Brooklyn. There we are. Now, that is the ITV studio. That is not green screen. So that is actually there. So they are there. That's overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge. From the other side, then you can see, you know, the whole of Manhattan. It's just a beautiful...
Yeah, it's lovely.
It really is. Whereas the BBC will probably... I don't know if we've got the BBC one. There we are. I mean, it all looks very nice, but it's just a table and chairs. But as a viewer...
Does it matter?
Well, this is the thing. Does it actually matter? There's some people saying, well, I like to get the true feeling of being American.
Yes, but also you get the other side. You get lots of people complaining that, I mean, really, the BBC is sending a team of 500 people.
Exactly. To America, how much of this is costing me?
Yeah.
So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
It's different if they can get a location where they're actually overlooking the event, which they've done before in some Olympics.
See, I think they'll probably do. I think when we start getting, see, they're not mentioning this, but I think the BBC, once they start getting to when it really gets down towards the end and the knockout stages, then they'll probably broadcast from the stadiums. But in the meantime, I don't see this a big deal.
No, I don't see the problem with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I have to say the BBC studio does look quite impressive there.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the ITV one is just a table in front of a great picture of Manhattan.
It's not as nice as our place, though, I think.
No,
I think our place, because I mean, you've done a lovely job with it, I've got to say. It really is very nice.
Well, we come in and we slave away at the back.
We do. I know, it looks very nice. Yeah, it looks very nice. So really, in the background, maybe we could have a little American backdrop. Maybe.
I'm sure they could sort it.
Do you think so? Yeah, the Grand Canyon or something like that.
I'll have a word.
Yeah, just press a button nowadays.
Okay.
What else have we got?
Scotland play Haiti. Enough of already. Just move on. Haiti against Scotland. So this is a late night one. 2 a.m. and it's Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Right.
So if you want to stay up, Scotland will be playing against Haiti. And also a little bit about the cricket. Rob Key, who's the managing director of England Cricket, you know, the problem with Ben Stokes, the whole drinking situation. He's actually come out and spoken yesterday. Now, he's very good because ex-England player, also pundit as well. And what we took from it is that he didn't back Ben Stokes as captain. He was very careful about what he said, considering a blanket alcohol ban. I mean, it really is. You shouldn't have to be treating them like children, but sometimes they need to be. Gus Atkinson said he didn't know there was a curfew. Didn't know. Surely everybody else knew. And he was pretty much in disbelief about finding out about what happened, which is really shocking. So second test against New Zealand next week without Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson.
Yeah.
And finally, now this is I find this bizarre. Now, a new world record has been set, and this is the 110-metre hurdles that Colin Jackson held this record for years. And the weird thing is that it was set in the heats of the college championships in America. So this is a 20-year-old runner, and he's smashed the world record. Wow. His name's Jacoby Tharp, 12.75 seconds. He's took 0.05 of a second off of the world record, which stood for 14 years. You know, I don't want to be suspicious about that, but it's a bit bizarre, isn't it?
At college.
Incredibly naturally talented.
Well, it could be.
Let's hope so.
He said, I knew I had it in my legs, but it wasn't on my bingo card before this meet, not at all. And I was watching the commentary, and these Americans are going, hey, and he's really fast. Oh, and he's broken the world record. It's like, well, this is huge. It's such a huge thing that it stood for so long. There's another schoolboy, 17-year-old Texan, whose name is Cooper Lutkenhaus, who ran in Oslo, and he's now become the #1 in the world for the 800 metres. So I don't know whether it's just getting younger, 20-year-old to 17-year-old. All I'm trying to work out is that I think my athletic career could be behind me.
I think it might be.
You think so?
You've still got a chance.
OK, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, look, we'll see you a little bit later on.
Thank you.
Now, we'll be looking through the newspapers in a moment, and guess who with? We are sort of expecting fireworks, frankly, on a day like today. Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson there, reading up on what's in the news.
Complete chaos.
First of all, though, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however, across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Princess Anne and the way that she has brought up her family is really interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, you've got daughter and son who've not taken on royal titles, who've just got on with their lives.
I think now, in retrospect, we can say it was an inspired decision of the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, not to have her husband receive a grand peerage title, which meant, of course, that her children would just be plain Mr. and Mrs. Zara is Mrs. Tyndall, he is Mr. Phillips, and that's allowed them actually to have a much more normal life, not being in the necessary glare that attaches when you have the HRH prefix to your name and become a duke or a duchess or whatever. And yes, they have had great lives in the private sector.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Dorothea, how does it feel being here today, joining other veterans?
It's marvellous, because for years after the war ended, nobody knew that women had even done anything during the war. And also, they suddenly discovered that, good heavens, women have got brains. They can think for themselves and for the country. And it was naturally assumed that everybody would willingly do their bit for England. And they would have. We had one purpose in life, which was to free the world from Nazism.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
To a lot of people, this is just a series of names, and they are to us. But suddenly we come to a name, and we knew that guy. This one down there, Daddy Circus. I served with him. I know what a lovely man he was. Terrible waste that he dies. There's another guy, Lieutenant Fraden, who was my signals officer in the 2nd 4th Essex. Was transferred to the 2nd Essex when we were transferred to the Dorsets. He got killed by a sniper. What a wicked waste. Wicked waste. And then the powers that be are warming up for another one. Doesn't make sense. I bet God above is regretting giving man his free will. That's all I can think.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Let's have a look at the newspaper front pages at 6:44, and the Telegraph says Defence Secretary John Healey's resignation has torpedoed the Prime Minister.
In the Times, the defence funding row is also leading after Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's, who's going to be on the programme a bit later, he also quit Sir Keir Starmer's government.
The Mail writes, God help us, with reports the Prime Minister is planning to increase defence spending by 0.08%.
And finally, for the moment, let's look at The Sun, which has pictures of the Prime Minister and John Healey, alongside the headline, Thanks, but no tanks.
Oh, clever. All right, let's talk to our senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson, and former Conservative Special Advisor, Claire Pearsall.
Morning.
Good morning. Nigel, let's start with you on this. Is this the end for the Prime Minister?
Probably, but not necessarily. Obviously, it depends how everything plays out as we go through the year. It's certainly really serious. I mean, when one of the headlines is saying he's been torpedoed, certainly he's been holed up below the waterline by John Healey's resignation. Obviously, it would depend on should there be a leadership contest, which is now pretty certain, but it would rather depend on who he comes up against in that leadership contest.
Well, if he's got the nerve to stand.
Well, as I say, it depends who he comes up against, which means he may not. I mean, he keeps saying, I will fight on, but of course he's got to say that. So whether he actually does when the time comes, we'd have to see.
How would he do then, if, for instance, up against Andy Burnham now, since he's been torpedoed?
Well, if there's a leadership contest and it goes to the membership, then he would definitely lose against Andy Burnham. If there was a leadership contest and it went to the membership and it was Wes Streeting, the chances are he would win.
Because Wes Streeting is that unpopular?
He's less popular than Keir
Starmer even now?
Yes, yes.
What if standing against him would be John Healey?
Now, that is a really interesting question. I mean, I've known John Healey for nearly 30 years, and I think that what he did last night was a totally honourable way of going forward. He made the point that he couldn't do the job given the resources that they were offering him. So he would start in quite an interesting position there. The thing about John Healey is he's always been rather quiet.
Yeah.
He was a minister under Tony Blair back in 2001, went all the way through with Gordon Brown until they lost the election. So he's had plenty of government experience, but he's always done it really quietly, behind the scenes. He's never sort of put himself out there.
Which makes his resignation letter look even more dramatic.
Well, that doesn't it just? Yeah, I mean, he says in his opening paragraph, this was the letter I never expected to write. Well, this was the letter we never expected to see. That of all people, he seemed to be a total loyalist to Keir Starmer, and the idea of actually resigning shows just how bad things must be. Because what he's saying is, look, we can't keep the country safe. I can't keep the personnel under me safe. Therefore, I can't do my job, and I've got to go. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to say.
Well, that is the most damning of indictments when we know that the first job of any government is to secure the nation.
Exactly.
And the Defence Secretary saying we can't do it.
Absolutely, and for him to come out and say that so publicly, and the letter was quite something to read yesterday afternoon. But the very fact is that John Healey has always been the one to have to go out and defend the Prime Minister against opposition attacks, which were obviously quite rightly so. And he realised that he couldn't do that. So John Healey has said, enough is enough. And I know behind the scenes there have been an awful lot of conversations going on about how this money was going to be raised. It wasn't enough. Please, could they have some more? And Keir Starmer seems to have just brushed it off and ignored it. And I think that John Healey, being such a sort of consummate professional, has just said, no, this is enough. And then it started the tidal wave of other resignations, with a minister then having to resign, and also 2 parliamentary private secretaries also going. I think that shows you the level of distrust now that the MOD has in Number 10.
But the problem is, this is all down to the Defence Investment Plan.
Yeah.
Right, which we've been waiting for since October. And there's been a massive hoo-ha over the fact it's not been published yet.
We now know the reason.
Yes.
Well, we know the reason, but how can they then publish it? It's due it was due yesterday, so it's due in the next few days now. How can they still publish it, knowing the two key people in that department who were meant to deliver this both said it's nonsense. It won't work. It's not going to work.
Well, it's a problem. You're absolutely right. They've got to publish it because the NATO summit's coming up, and the whole point about the Defence Investment Plan is that it goes along with the Strategic Defence Review from last year, and that's what we've got to present to NATO to say how we're going to play our part in NATO at the forthcoming summit. I mean, the issue really comes down to what the Strategic Defence Review said was £28 billion is needed. Rachel Reeves, reportedly, because we haven't seen the plan ourselves, says it's just over 13 billion, not enough. Then, of course, you've got to work out how you're going to pay for it. That if it was 28 billion and that was shared out amongst taxpayers, that would be £700 for each of us.
But there's an extra level of pressure going into the NATO conference as well, because you have Donald Trump, who put to all nations, you're not spending enough, you're all not contributing enough to the fund. And now we're going to have to go there as United Kingdom saying, yeah, well, we promised this, and actually we're going to bring you much less.
Who is going to have the brass neck to be able to stand up and reveal this plan? It has to be Dan Jarvis now,
it does,
the new
yes.
Defence Secretary.
He's now responsible for delivering it, yeah.
A highly decorated former serviceman. How did he get the job? How did he agree to do the job when it's clearly such a poison choice?
Well, last night, I mean, both of us last night were waiting for the new Defence Secretary at home. And what it took, you worked out 8 hours it took to actually...
8 o'clock, we were standing there in a kitchen, and at that point we still didn't have a Defence Secretary, and John Healey had resigned at midday. And then the news came in not long after that. But that's a substantial period of time, without somebody able to sign off anything that the country needed in terms of defence.
Just in case the Russians invaded last night in the
Absolutely. And you still then got now a vacancy for a security minister. Given the threats against the United Kingdom, these positions are really, really vital. We don't have a security minister as we speak now. Hopefully somebody will be appointed very soon.
So what do you deduce from that 8-hour wait?
Well, that Dan Jarvis had to be talked into it. I mean, that when John Healey went, the next question was, would they promote Al Carnes or go to Dan Jarvis? There were really only two options they had. And of course, we know that Al Carnes resigned last night. Whether he was pushed or jumped, we're not quite sure. So Dan Jarvis was the obvious choice. The fact it took so long sounds like he needed some persuasion to go and take the job.
But we're also told, and again, we don't know how true this is, but we're told the DIP is going to say that we're going to get a 0.08% increase. That's the GDP.
That's right.
That's £2.43 billion.
Yeah.
Which, in terms of what we know we need for defence, is literally peanuts.
Yeah, I mean, that's by... that'll be by 2030.
So 2.43 billion by 2030?
Yes. And what they...
hold on a minute. When we're spending £12 billion on getting rid of the two-child benefit cap.
Yes. But that, I mean, the promise is that we'll get up to 3%, and so what the Strategic Defence Review was based around was that 3%, and that's the one that would cost you, if we the taxpayer were paying for it, that would cost us £700.
Just wonder where the priorities of the government actually lay when they can spend out on an enormous and ever-growing welfare bill. They can spend an awful lot of money going into the net zero madness, but the defence of the country is a case of, well, let's find what's left down the back of the sofa.
They could take some money off pensioners. That would be popular, wouldn't it?
But there's an awful lot of things you can do.
Couldn't they? I mean, we're in a point where we know the welfare bill is going to rise sort of exponentially up till the end of the decade. We also know we're paying out more in welfare than we're actually bringing in income tax revenue.
Yes, but I mean, the welfare bill, half of it is made up of pensions.
Pensions, yes.
And so if you're going to start hitting the welfare bill, you're going to have to start choosing, do you take some off kids, some off pensioners? I mean, that's the problem that you face about paying for it.
Back to something Keir Starmer has said many times himself. His primary job is to secure the defence of this country.
But someone's got to pay for it.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's the difficult bit of being in government, isn't it? I mean, so many of the headlines this morning is, how much more can we take of this government?
Yes, well, in our case, I think very little. I would like to see them gone very quickly. That's no surprise, considering that I'm a Conservative card-carrying member. But I think this just shows how incompetent the government are, how unprepared they are, and how bad the Prime Minister is at making any decision whatsoever if his backbenchers are going to kick back.
Just in 2 seconds, would you agree with that or not? 2 seconds.
Yes.
OK, well, that's interesting. Right, thank you both. See you later. Here's the weather.
Historic moment.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday, cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A55, both directions on the Britannia Bridge, speed limits are reduced to 30 miles per hour until further notice due to ongoing issues. On the M53 southbound at Junction 3, a police incident has closed all lanes, causing delays of around 15 minutes, with normal traffic expected between 9:45 and 10 this morning. Please plan accordingly if travelling through the Wirral district. Additionally, on the M53 northbound, 3 lanes remain restricted for safety reasons. And on the trains, there are disruptions affecting both Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway services between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister's leadership plunged into turmoil once again.
The resignations of the Defence Secretary, John Healey, and the Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan's, brings the total number of politicians to leave Sir Keir's government to a staggering 22.
Well, both of these men accusing the Prime Minister of putting Britain in danger by failing to spend the money needed to defend us, despite what the Prime Minister said in the past.
My first duty is obviously to keep this country safe. The first duty of the UK Prime Minister is the safety and security of our city. My first duty, the duty above everything else, is to keep our country safe.
Well, do stay with us as we cover this concern. We're going to be talking to Al Carnes himself about his resignation, as well as Business Secretary Peter Kyle and Reform UK's Richard Tice.
Of course, the big question is this the Prime Minister's authority being fractured completely now? Is his leadership really spiralling out of control?
Belfast awakens after a third night of protests as it's revealed that the asylum seeker charged with the attempted murder was a policeman in his home country of Sudan.
A pill version of the weight loss drug Wegovy is about to go on sale here in the UK.
And in sport, well, the World Cup has begun. 3 red cards and a Mexico win at the legendary Azteca Stadium last night. The managing director of England Cricket, Rob Key, is considering an all-out alcohol ban for England players. And Emma Raducanu could find herself playing twice today because of Queen's being washed out yesterday.
Whilst there is a bit of rain around at the moment and quite a brisk breeze for many by this afternoon, it's looking dry and also warmer than it has been through much of this week. Stick around to find out more.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
All right, we're starting with the Prime Minister's leadership, which frankly is in free fall this morning after the resignation of both the Defence Secretary, John Healey, swiftly followed by Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes yesterday.
In a damning indictment on Sir Keir Starmer's leadership, John Healey accused him of failing to meet the moment with his long-delayed defence investment plan. Later in the day, then, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch defended Healey's decision.
Yesterday, I raised the issue of the Defence Investment Plan, and the Prime Minister exposed the fact that he was not going to put money into defence to the amount that was required. And I'm sure John Healey sat there listening to the Prime Minister tell me that he was increasing defence funding when he is not. He has done the honourable thing and resigned. I am glad that he agrees with me that we need to put more money into defence.
Well, reports have since circulated. The reason for capping defence spending at what appears to be a very low level in the defence investment plan is the government's commitment to net zero spending and, of course, the ballooning benefits bill.
Well, we're now joined by journalist Andy Jones in the studio, and we were talking in the earlier hour there about how much more can we take of this government. But frankly, we talk about Keir Starmer being on the ropes, but is he really? Because he just seems to cling on through these crises and doesn't let anything affect him.
Well, it's not, is he on the ropes? Is he even in the ring at the moment? I think he's increasingly anonymous in his own government. I mean, let's look at where Keir Starmer was a few years ago. 2024, he was saying to NATO allies, you need to increase your spending. Italy and Spain were spending around 2%. We all needed to contribute to the rest of Europe. Actually, look at where we are now. In real terms, we're now spending about 1.5% because actually this this military budget also needs to cover MI5, MI6, our nuclear deterrent. And yes, nuclear deterrent is absolutely military, but you only use it in a last resort. And you need an awful lot of things to go through before you get anywhere near that. And in the meantime, Starmer, over his premiership, has busied himself with giving away and £35 billion to give away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. He's had all these Trump fallouts. Yes, it's obviously difficult to keep President Trump on side. And then even in Iran, I think we were right not to go to war in Iran, but also this moment where we wouldn't even give America our air bases. It seems to be this position where Keir Starmer isn't really in control of the military. He's not really able to get it moving. There was that awful period where, and yes, it's not entirely Keir Starmer's fault, we couldn't even send a Navy ship out across Europe. It took us, I think, 10 days to get a Navy ship moving. And then, obviously, him and Lord Hermer have this previous where they have been busy not protecting our troops, previous where they're prosecuting our troops, doing it pro bono because they believe that's what should be done. The question has to be asked, is Starmer interested in our military? And even worse, is he actively, proactively damaging it?
I mean, look, I think that what is shocking about all of this is when the Defence Secretary turns round and says, I can't continue because we cannot protect our nation. That is the fundamental job. That is the first job of any government. And when the Defence Secretary and indeed then the Armed Forces Minister both turn around and say, we can't do it anymore, that makes... I mean, it's beyond a joke, isn't it? It's beyond serious at that point.
Yeah, John Healey's not the kind of person that speaks out of turn. This is someone who loves the party, but more than that, loves his sense of duty and his job. This isn't someone who is grasping for the top job. Al Khan's has served his country heroically in the past. He's been awarded a military cross. Yes, he's been critical previously, this is the Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan's, of Starmer's continued prosecution of former veterans. We understand that. But this isn't just an alarm bell ringing. This is a real man the lifeboats. This is incredibly worrying. And we look at the background at the moment. President Trump has, for a long time, been withdrawing support, military cover for Europe. We are giving a huge amount of money to Ukraine, and rightly so in some ways, but that war doesn't show any signs of relenting. And on our home front, we are seeing a position where you're getting huge numbers of people arriving. We're told that the terror threat is absolutely serious. Ring the alarm bells. Yet people are still arriving through ports, through dinghies. We're seeing, you know, I won't say terror because they've said it wasn't a terror, but there's attempted beheading in Belfast. We seem to be unable to protect our streets, unable to protect our border, and unable to organise ourselves.
Well, meanwhile, you see, adding to the problems that the Prime Minister faces and the Chancellor in all of this, we've just had the figures out from the Office for National Statistics about the state of the UK economy. Now, it's contracted by 0.1% in April. That's on GDP. It was expected. I mean, it's largely going to be seen as a result of what's going on in Iran and people pulling their, you know, purse strings being pulled a bit tighter. But nevertheless, it's really bad news.
It is, and we were all, you know, I know it's a bigger picture than this, but Rachel Reeves said that increasing the minimum wage and all these other sort of things would be good for the economy. It hasn't really shown so far. We're spending around 10.9% of GDP on benefits alone. 8 million people in the UK claim universal credit. We've got of 16 to 24-year-olds, over 1 million are not in education, they're not in work, they're not in employment or any sort of doing anything. And yet we've got, I think that speaks so much to this, we've got 1 million young people who are at home not doing anything, not in training, not looking for work. We've got this mental health crisis, and we have a situation where we are spending huge amounts just paying for people who aren't giving anything back. We're having a huge amount of people arrive taking benefits, and net zero, 125 billion is going to cost us. Ed Miliband was asked, can you cut your cloth? Can you give us a bit back to defend the country? Because let's face it, there's not going to be any windmills and solar panels if we're blown up. He said no. Why is Ed Miliband calling the shots? Why is the government not in charge of itself?
Yeah, all right, Andy, thank you.
My goodness, that's a big question. Maybe you've got an answer. Do get in touch with us. Now, with just a week to go until voters head to the polls in 3 separate by-elections, attention, of course, is increasingly turning to Scotland, where 2 of the contests are taking place.
Well, one of the most closely watched battles is Aberdeen South, the former seat of former SNP leader Stephen Flynn. Unsurprisingly, debate on the campaign trail has been dominated by energy rather than broader policy issues.
But as we've been hearing, the impact extends far beyond oil and gas alone.
For half a century, Aberdeen forged its identity around the vibrant industry born of the North Sea. Providing constituents of Aberdeen South can get over election fatigue, next week's by-election is arguably more relevant to the North Sea's future than the Scottish elections in May. Voters now need to switch their priorities from devolved to reserved matters. The future of energy security is focused on clean power, with supporters saying it reduces reliance on volatile international markets, creates local jobs and provides long-term stability. Trade body Offshore Energies UK says 3 in 4 Brits want to continue oil and gas production at home instead of relying on imports.
While we use oil and gas, we should produce it ourselves, and we should recognise that what happens in our oil and gas sector ripples through our fuels, our pharmaceuticals, our chemical sector. All of these jobs are vitally dependent on what happens here in the North Sea, and we should proudly protect them.
After peaking at 4.6 billion barrels a day in 1999, North Sea oil has been in decline ever since. Local property expert and estate agent Vince Spangenberg reiterates the potential knock-on effects of an uncertain future for North Sea drilling.
Yeah, we found over the last few years a decline in the number of people coming to Aberdeen, and there are a lot of people actually leaving, unfortunately. We tend to find that the majority of it is because of oil and gas. This all filters down, so it's not just the people who are directly involved with that particular industry. It's also the people who actually supply those people as well.
Next week's by-election for Aberdeen South has been likened to a referendum on the future of the North Sea, linked to housing, jobs and the economy. The Granite City has been impacted by the Green Revolution after generations basked in the glow of economic prosperity. Candidates have a week to exchange their war of words, but all that really matters is how voters respond on Thursday. Anna Riley, GB News, Aberdeen.
Well, let's run you through the list of candidates standing in Aberdeen South. They are Nurul Haq Ali, the Labour Party, David Ballantyne, the ADF Party, Joe Hart, Reform UK, Jorg Shelton Eckstein, the Green Party,
Donald Lumsden, the Conservative Party, Mel Sullivan, the Lib Dems, Richard Gordon-Thompson, SNP.
All right, also happening today, Donald Trump has said he's cancelled planned strikes on Iran after negotiations were taken to the highest level of Iranian leadership. The US president claimed a deal is close, saying Iran has agreed it will never have a nuclear weapon.
A 14-year-old girl is due to be in court today, charged with 3 counts of attempted murder after a knife attack at a school in Manchester. A boy and a girl, both 14, and a 27-year-old male member of staff were stabbed at the Co-op Academy on Plant Hill Road in the Blakely area.
And around 1 million young people will be offered the meningitis B vaccine before the new academic year starts. It's a one-off programme following a series of outbreaks, including one in Kent, which left 2 teenagers dead.
Now let's catch up with what the weather is doing for us. Here's Alex Burkill.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday. Cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, we've got the sport heading away in just a moment. Paul?
It's all about the World Cup. Mexico won last night, and Scotland will be playing very, very late tomorrow night. More coming up very shortly. Oh, and here I am. Hello. There we are. And there's Mexico there. There we are. You hear the words first, and then you see it afterwards.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
"19 minutes past 7. Let's try and get some take on the fallout that's happening in government at the moment and what it means for the nation and for our safety. And let's talk to the former chair of the Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood. Good morning to you. Look, I know politically you're going to disagree with a lot of what the government is doing and saying, but what do you make of what the Defence Secretary said yesterday when basically he said that he cannot protect the nation under the remit, the spending provided by the Defence Investment Plan? That's as damning as it gets, isn't it?
Yes, this was huge for the government and for the Prime Minister. A huge tribute to John Healey and Al Khan's. Both have done something quite rare in British politics, actually, to resign on on principle. John particularly has worked so hard behind the scenes, as you imply, to secure more funding for defence. The PM, the Prime Minister, even declared, he agreed at the Munich Security Conference, I was there, to say, yes, our world's getting more dangerous, we need to invest more in defence. But it's clear that there's been this tussle between Number 10, the MOD, and the Treasury. And what we're now seeing is the Prime Minister gambling with the nation's security. What happened over a year ago is the Prime Minister himself commissioned a defence review. And that did not hold back in making it very clear we've entered a dark chapter facing new but also traditional types of threats. But secondly, that there are massive holes in our defences, gaps that if they were not plugged would actually put the nation in danger. So this is absolutely damaging to Keir Starmer. I think it's now going to see the end of him. But it has done something very, very positive, and that is actually to show to Britain, to shine a spotlight, just how unprepared we are for the very real threats that are absolutely heading our way. And it will be temporarily damaging as well, I'm afraid, from a NATO perspective, because for years we've been seen as that senior military power in Europe. So this is now an opportunity for us to take stock and recognise as a nation that we need to spend more on defence.
But have we been lied to? Because so many members of government, even recently, have stood up and said that they're going to spend more on defence than any other government in many, many years. They talk about figures like 3% or 3.5% by whatever year they tend to quote. But we're actually being manipulated here, aren't we? Because when you look at the true figure, it's 0.08%, and it's nowhere near enough. And they've been told repeatedly that it's nowhere near enough to defend the country.
Well, it isn't just, you're absolutely right, but it isn't just in the numbers that we actually see that. It's in the operations. It's in our ability to protect our country. Remember what happened at the beginning of the Iran war, that we had to send a Type 45 out to the Middle East. We struggled to do so. Not one of the 6 ships was ready to go. And it's not just in our surface fleet, but it's in our aircraft as well. We should have 136 fast jets, F-35s. We've only got 48. When it comes to our land warfare, we only have 150 battle tanks. They're amazing, but where is the ability to replace them, the industrial capacity to then fight the next battle after the first one has ended? And whether it's land, sea or air, space, nuclear, cyber and disinformation areas, right across the piece, in all domains of war, we are found wanting, and that's where the money needs to go. So we can talk about the numbers and percentages, but actually it's the contracts that need to be signed. That's where the Defence Investment Plan, this big thing that was supposed to be announced on Monday, was found short. And that's why John Healey did the absolute right thing to do and honourably resign.
All right, Tobias Selwood, we've got to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
OK, well, keep your opinions coming in. Love to hear them. Meanwhile, time is ticking on for your chance to win the Great British Giveaway, £76,543.21. Here's how.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab a chance to live the summer of your dreams. As we could be making all of those dreams come true this year with a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won. Someone really has to win it, and it could be you. What would you do with all that cash? That could be your year on us. Or find yourself in the lap of 5-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be the next guaranteed winner, but don't miss out, there's only 2 weeks left to enter.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
best of luck, which is what we're going to be saying to England over the next 5.5 weeks, Paul Coyte.
And Scotland as well.
And Scotland, yes. But
yeah, and Curaçao.
But I am English, so therefore I'm going to say it to England.
OK, fine. Try and talk your way out of it. I see exactly what
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you.
So the opening ceremony, there's 3 opening ceremonies. So there's one in Mexico, which was last night, and then we've got the one in Los Angeles, which is tonight. And then there's the other one, which is in Canada as well. I've got to say, I was disappointed with the Mexico because I was kind of hoping that Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass would play. And it was a bit of a letdown that they didn't wheel Herb out to do a few songs. Tijuana Taxi, you know, all those great trumpet
classics.
Hits. None of that.
We had Shakira, didn't we?
Does Shakira do every major sporting event?
Yes.
Because there's 2 of them. There's Shakira and Andrea Bocelli. So it's like if there's an Olympics, if there's the Commonwealth Games, if there's the World Bowls Championship, let's get Shakira on the phone, let's get Andrea Bocelli, and then we'll do that. And again, that's what happened again yesterday. She's very popular. I mean, she's very popular.
Sells a few albums.
Exactly, and it works for her. You know, just do these just corner the market when it comes to sporting events. There was a K-pop singer there as well. I think we've got some probably pictures of the opening ceremony from last night. There was a K-pop singer as well, Alejandro Fernandez, who is the son of the veteran crooner Vicente Fernandez. Are you familiar with either of the Fernandez?
Yes,
or the Fernandez, as there's 2 of them. But they were playing. That's me, by the way, just on the bottom left-hand side with that huge headdress on. That was me there at the Azteca Stadium. So then tonight in LA, we've got Katy Perry is going to play, and So anyway, it all looked very good.
Yeah,
and then the game, and then we should talk about the game. So Mexico, they played South Africa and they won 2-0, and there were 3 sendings off. It was a great occasion. 80,000 people at the Azteca. So there's a good start for Mexico, and also there's been another game as well. But see, some of these matches, like in the middle of the night, so it's 3 o'clock this morning, our time, and that's in Guadalajara.
Guadalajara.
You do it so much better than me. Whenever we talk about this, Anne, could I just always, even if you're not in, we could just phone you up and you can say...
Guadalajara.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. South Korea beat Czechia. Czech Republic? Czechia? What do we go with?
Oh, Czechia now.
Is Czechia now? OK, 2-1. So South Korea won that. And tonight's game, so we've got Canada are playing Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is at 8 p.m. This is our time in Toronto. And then the USA versus Paraguay, 2 a.m. in
You're doing well.
Los Angeles. So, I mean, if Shakira can get the gig, surely for the next World Cup, and it's going to be you and me.
Guadalajara.
Unless you'd like to bring anything to the party, Stephen, with accents, you know, you're more than welcome.
No. How is Emma Raducanu going to play 2 matches in one day?
Well,
I know why, it's because of rain, but how is she going to do that?
I don't know. And knowing Emma Raducanu, with respect, I don't know whether she's going to get through the next game to play 2 games, but it all depends whether she's going to win the next one. So so she's going to be playing Romanian Sorana Cestia. That's who she's supposed to play yesterday. And then, I feel sorry, 10,000 people supposed to be at Queen's. I know a couple of people that went to Queen's yesterday, or were going anyway. So looking forward to it. There was Katie Bolter was playing, Emma was going to play, and it was just a complete washout all day. So anyway, she's going to play this game today, weather depending. But I mean, we did go into tennis, but I do want to mention Scotland because that's a huge game. It's the first home nation that's going to be playing in the World Cup, which is tomorrow night, and this is late, so 2 a.m. kickoff. So they are going to be playing. It's in Texas. So anyway, we've got Kenny McLean now. Kenny McLean's scored this amazing goal from the halfway line against Denmark during the playoffs to get them through into the World Cup. Let's hear what he has to say at the press conference yesterday. Kenny McLean.
Preparations have been amazing. Couldn't have went any better. And we're here, and you know we need to maximise the opportunity that we've got, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks since we've met up. It's been really good build-up. Obviously, good couple games. Plenty of players getting plenty of minutes, and you know we're a couple of days out now. We'll fly up to Boston today, and we're as prepared as we could be, to be honest.
I know there's nothing groundbreaking in what he said, but it was good to hear. You know, it's a football press conference.
But it's nice to get them there.
That's what I think. You know, we want to hear from him.
Of course we do.
And it's in the build-up. And also on YouTube, we've put some... I've got another one for you. Lots of World Cup stuff that I've made on YouTube. The latest one, so if you go to YouTube and go to the playlists and look up sport, you'll find one. It's all the weird moments that have happened over the World Cup, including Pickles the dog. You know, remember the World Cup in '66? Pickles the dog found the World Cup. Some very bizarre stories that happened in the World Cup over the years. And also we're keeping you updated every single day on TikTok and Instagram and all the socials about what the earth is going on with the World Cup.
Fabulous.
But hopefully Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass for the closing.
Yes,
what we need.
hopefully they heard you say that, because they should have done that.
Lovely. Oh,
OK, well, do stay with us because of the situation politically at the moment. We're going to be joined by Tom Tugendhat. Now, he's the former Security Minister and Conservative MP for Tunbridge, and he'll be giving us his view in a couple of moments.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Due to ongoing maintenance work, a speed restriction of 30 miles per hour is in effect in both directions on the A55 at Britannia Bridge until further notice. Meanwhile, on the M53 southbound at Junction 3 in the Wirral, all lanes remain closed due to a police incident, resulting in approximately 10-minute delays. Normal traffic conditions are anticipated to resume after 9:30 this morning. Train passengers should be aware of significant service disruptions affecting both Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway services between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Just coming up to 7:34, and of course, there's no doubt the government is in free fall now. The Prime Minister looks permanently damaged by what happened yesterday, the resignation of Defence Secretary John Healey and Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes, and replaced by the man who was Security Minister. So we no longer have a Security Minister. Should we talk to someone who did that job? The Conservative MP for Tunbridge, Tom Tugendhat. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Frankly, what are we to make of this?
Well, it's clear it's complete chaos. And the reason it's chaos is because Keir Starmer simply cannot make a decision that keeps Britain safe. Just read the letter that John Healey wrote. Now, John's a man of integrity. We've disagreed on plenty of things, as we would. But he's a man who has put defence first for 6 years, 4 years in opposition and 2 years in government. And in the letter, he couldn't make it clearer. He says the Prime Minister is unable and the Treasury is unwilling to protect our country. I mean, those words are damning on their own. Effectively, what the Prime Minister did was he asked the Defence Secretary, he asked the Minister of Armed Forces, Al Khans, to preside over the death of the Royal Navy, and they both said no. Well, finally, somebody's got a backbone.
With not so much your political hat on as your whole career previously in the military, how insulting is this? And also, how frightening is this, really, to us ordinary people?
Well, it's deeply insulting to the men and women who are serving. And Al Khans, who I served with in Afghanistan at various different points, makes it extremely clear in his letter. He makes 2 points. He says that we're simply not giving the physical elements that are necessary for defence. So there he's talking about kit, he's talking about ships, planes, weapons, all that sort of thing. But he also talks about the moral component. And I know GB News has been excellent on covering this, but the Northern Ireland Legacy Bill abandons our troops to the possibility of continuous litigation over years and years and years. Now, I mentioned that in a report to Policy Exchange in 2013. It's the first thing I did on leaving the army. It was the first thing I did on politics, was to make sure that we stood up for our veterans. And Al makes it totally clear. So I don't understand what Keir Starmer thinks he's doing, because whatever it is, he's not defending Britain and he's hanging our troops out to dry.
But the argument seems to be, I mean, that they could argue, well, we want to defend Britain, we just can't generate the money, which opens up the bigger political debate, doesn't it, which is about net zero, frankly, and is about the welfare bill.
Right, look, we're spending $50 billion a year more on welfare today than we were before COVID. We're spending more on net zero in one country where we generate 0.7% of global carbon emissions. Meanwhile, we're chasing jobs out of the country so that they go to China and India, where there's 10, 20% of global emissions. This is ridiculous. We're simply cutting off our noses to spite our face, and it's absolutely absurd. What we should be doing is investing in our country. And instead, what do we see from the Treasury today? £4.5 billion on bike lanes. Well, you know what? You can cycle up the coast, you can watch the Russians cutting our cables, you can see the Russian submarines destroying our capability to communicate, and then you can cycle back to the city and you can enjoy the candlelight, because frankly, that's what this government is preparing for.
Okay. Can I ask about the defence investment plan? Because we're being told that, you know, it is, you look at it now and think, how can they possibly publish it? But we're being told that they will still publish it under Dan Jarvis as the new Defence Secretary because of NATO. We've got to publish it because of NATO and the big NATO meeting. But aren't we just going to be a laughingstock when NATO look at it and say, A, it's a tiny amount of money that you're adding into the pot, and B, your own Defence Secretary resigned because it was so poor?
Look, you're absolutely right. Of course it is. Now, you know, Dan's a very old friend. We served together in combat in Afghanistan. He was very brave in the field. He was a great commander. I have no idea what he thinks he's signed up for, because frankly, you know, John Healey's made this completely clear. Any support coming for the armed forces is coming in 2 to 3 years' time. And as Keir Starmer made absolutely plain in his own speeches, we are expecting Russia to be aggressive towards NATO by 2030. So this defence investment plan is too little, too late, and the Defence Secretary resigned himself over it. So frankly, I haven't got a clue what they think they're doing. It's a joke already, and we simply cannot equip a Navy, let alone an Army and an Air Force, with what's promised.
But this is very distressing for ordinary people to read, isn't it? That we cannot... Yes, and it brings me back to my earlier question. How frightened should we be?
Well, look, we should be deeply, deeply concerned. Now, we have some fantastic people in the Royal Navy, in the Royal Air Force, and in the British Army. So I know they'll be doing their absolute best to keep us safe. But the whole point of government is that we're supposed to make sure we're equipping them properly. Now, I'm not going to go into it for very obvious reasons, but our intelligence services also do a fantastic job. Some of the best intelligence officers in the world are making sure we have as early a warning as is possible. But as Keir Starmer himself said, the nature of the threat has changed. Look, you've been you've been covering what's been going on in the Persian Gulf, where not a single Royal Naval vessel was available. You've been covering what happened in Cyprus, where the French had to defend our bases. You've also been covering what's been going on in Ukraine, And we all know that the nature of drone warfare means that we don't have to wait for the Russians to sort of go through Germany and go through France as we used to. A Russian ship can launch drones that attack us here in the United Kingdom. So that's what Al Khan's has been warning about. That's why his letter talks about the need to equip for today's war, not yesterday's. And that's why John Healey resigned. These are two men of integrity who have fallen on their swords because they know that what has been asked of them isn't possible and they're not prepared to lie to the country.
OK, Tom Tugendhat, really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's pretty bleak, isn't it? A very bleak outlook for anyone listening to that, but maybe we've got to face up to reality. And it's not surely enough for the government to look back and say, well, you know, we are spending more than any government has in the last 10 years or so.
It's relative.
They've got the job of, they've taken on the job, they've got to sort it out.
Yeah.
All they're doing is losing ministers. They keep resigning.
Well, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to Richard Tice from Reform UK. We're also going to talk to Al Khan's, who, of course, resigned as Armed Forces Minister. So that's all still to come. Before that, though, we're going to go through the papers with Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson, see what they make of it all. That's all after the European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however, across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
All the things that we might not think about when we think about a pint of beer, all the things that go into running a pub like this one. So I'll hand you the microphone, you tell us while I have a go at this. Don't judge me too harshly, Dawn.
Amazing. So obviously people don't take into effect that the energy costs and the raw material costs, also the packaging, overheads and the tax hikes. So when we're pulling a pint of beer, we have to think about the cost that's gone into making the beer and the rises in that. We also have to think about the overheads, the staff, the electrics which are plumbed in to pour in a pint. This obviously is very astronomical to pubs because if it increases, we're therefore going to have to put that onto the consumer, making the pint of beer more expensive.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You can't help wondering if that's what Prince William, future king, of course, is sort of planning for the future, whether that's the sort of slightly more laid-back attitude towards modern life.
Yes, I mean, I think we're going to see a huge change in the type of monarchy we have when he comes to the throne. We can very much see that King Charles is his mother's son. King Charles very much regards the Coronation Act as a sacrament, that it's essentially akin to becoming a priest, something that you do for life, much as the Queen Elizabeth felt it was too, a deeply sacred spiritual bond, a covenant between God and himself and the people. We know that that is not really the way that Prince William regards monarchy as well. I personally think, for example, that Prince William will become the first king to abdicate.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
I thought the film, which Spielberg did, didn't somehow strike the right note.
So this would be the way I felt about High Society, the musical. It's glossy, it's beautiful, it's impressive, but you feel a little bit distant from it. War Horse, you are in there. Fantastic humour, that brings you in, you laugh with them, you care about them. So even when they're in the trenches and Albert makes a friend, they're bantering about girlfriends and things like that. You absorb how arbitrary and terrible war is, you know, decisions made by people far away, young lads just shoved over to run
horse charges
and it's
into...
happening now,
Yeah.
Stefan, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
What you're describing is happening now.
Well, this is why it's resonating so much, because you're sitting there going, what is the point? It's so beautifully done. I cannot recommend it
playing
enough.
where?
This one is on at the National Theatre. It's Come Back Home. It's where it started almost 20 years ago.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Right, time for the papers. Coming up to 7:45. Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearsall are here. Good morning. What should we talk about, I wonder?
Well, I tell you what, one of our lovely viewers has written in saying, genuine question to Stephen and Anne, but this is very much for Claire and Nigel.
Oh, right, OK.
You have both been covering news for many years now. Have you ever felt as depressed and despairing over the daily diet of bad news on all fronts?
No, is the answer.
Yeah, no is the answer.
Yeah.
Never
I
felt
can't
like
quite believe we're in this situation.
No, and this one seems to be endless, whereas before you'd have a period of bad news and then everything was settled down and it was quiet. And now it just feels like every single day you get up and just go, what's going to happen now?
It feels like everything changed after Brexit. I mean, there's not a... Hang on. There's not a comment about Brexit. All I'm saying is that everything that seems to have... The news cycle seemed to sort of speed up hugely after that. I mean, I can just remember there would be periods when I'd be working on the newspaper where we'd have several weeks and it was actually quite quiet. I've not known a week where it's been quiet since 2016.
Yeah, and look, and I get that, that's a fair point. But, I mean, certainly since this government was elected, we do seem to be ricocheting from one crisis to another.
I think that's true, and one of the problems was I think they set up a narrative right from the beginning of after the election of doing things wrong, and so the first thing was the freebie clothes that Keir Starmer and some of his ministers took. I can't imagine what they were thinking. I mean, it was just crazy. And then the taking the winter fuel allowance away from pensioners. Again, don't mess with pensioners.
And the farmers' tax there.
Well, you might have got away with that had he not done the first bits. I think there was a kind of feeling that, hang on, this stuff is really weird. I mean, just weird politically. And when the farm tax came along, obviously you needed to tweak it a bit to make it a bit fairer because of the way they were hitting family farms.
It just shows the lack of attention to detail of the government, because they just assumed that anybody who had a farm was a greedy, rich landowner. And we know that isn't true. And we know how much these people take home. It's very, very little for the amount of work they do and for
But they
what
were trying to hit the
produce.
greedy landowners, and that was the point of the farm tax. It was
But
people
they
who
hadn't
didn't do
looked.
any farming.
But again, it's that thing that a policy which sounds very nice around a breakfast table in Islington, suddenly you put it into real life and it hits the public. And it's all of those other consequences that this party don't appear to look at. The government is surprised when people go, well, hold up a second, that isn't right, that isn't fair, we don't agree with
That
this.
isn't gonna work.
They seem really surprised that somebody would have a different view. Perhaps they hadn't looked at the level of detail, which with the farm tax, they absolutely didn't. They had no understanding of how the rural economy works.
But now we're in a situation, sorry, Amber, so we're in a situation where we are talking about the security of our nation.
Yes.
And when you've got a Defence Secretary and an Armed Forces Minister both standing up and saying, can't do this, you are threatening the security of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
that's unprecedented.
It's really serious. And one of the things in John Healey's letter was about that we are expecting the Russian to be at war with Russia at some point in the fairly near future, which is incredibly scary. But there's also, on the other side of the coin, that Rachel Reeves has got to try and balance is, where does all the money come from all these things?
But it's almost as though Keir Starmer puts more store completely in her than any of his other ministers.
But it's got to be paid for. I mean, at the moment, I don't blame President Trump, for instance, for saying that NATO countries should contribute 5% of GDP towards their defence, that America shouldn't have to carry the burden all the way through. He's got a good point there, and that's certainly become NATO policy. But how on earth we actually pay for that? You're then talking in the realm of £36 billion, not the amounts we've got at the moment.
2.4.
But
not the 2.4. 36 additional billion.
No, yes, that would be additional if you go to 5%, which is the ultimate target.
This is where, and we've had people messaging in because our audience is far from stupid. They all know their facts and figures. £20 billion on carbon capture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy... I mean, that would be... And I know it's in a lot of varying degrees. People think that's all very, very important. But we're talking about an immediate threat. So why then not just say, we're releasing £20 billion, we're going to scrap the carbon capture scheme, release and bring that on board?
But a lot of that is actually private investment. When it comes to trying to save money on net zero, this is not... a lot of it is not public money. So when we're putting the figures down there, it involves some of the private stuff. There is money involved, obviously, from the government end.
But last night, the government quietly announced they're going to spend £4.5 billion over the next few years on the cycle and walking investment strategy.
Yeah, and it's...
£4.5 billion in the next 5 years.
I haven't seen that, so... that's...
Yeah.
An awful lot of cycle lanes.
I mean, that's...
And that's the problem, isn't it? Because also what governments do is that news was pushed out relatively late on last night because it's under the cover of some other stories that are slightly larger. And all governments do that. I'm not suggesting that Labour are the only ones. But it's things like that that they believe we all need and we should all be grateful for. But if you add them all up, it's 4 million here, 5 million there, 2.6 somewhere else. It's an awful lot of money wasted on something, on a cycling strategy. Now, why does it cost that much money to look into why cycling is good for your health?
You invest in those things in the good times. We're very clearly not in good times.
No, we're not. No, that's right. I mean, this also comes back to the net zero thing that I know Stephen's sort of fairly sceptical about it, but
it's not that I'm sceptical. I think net zero would be brilliant if we can have an emission-free world or an emission-free country. Brilliant, lovely. It's better for everybody. But you've got to get there in a way which is fiscally sensible.
I know, but that's the point. There is that's where the economic growth will come from in the modern world, and so if you keep watering down the targets and you abandon net zero by 2030 for electricity, we're not going to be on the ground floor of doing that. There's billions of pounds of business out there in the world that we might capture. 800,000 jobs could be created by.
We can't cripple ourselves in the process to getting there.
And that was it. All of this sort of, we should be able to, we could be accessing, an enormous market of business. But those aren't accurate when you look at people's day-to-day living, when you're forcing the cost of your net zero dream onto the consumer who is already paying through the nose for gas and electricity and is now expected to just pay more and enjoy that. You aren't going to get growth because people aren't going to have the money to put back into the economy. People are facing really tough choices. And what does the Prime Minister do? Say, well, we'll cut some money off some leisure activities across August.
But
well,
surely...
hang on a minute. Let's be a little bit more realistic. People need help with their rents, they need help with water bills, they need help with gas and electricity and food prices. We don't need other frivolities.
But then we're back to the defence problem. In full circle, we come back to the defence problem. If you go for what John Healey and Al Cairns wanted, we're talking £28 billion. Where does that money come from?
Yes, but any decent Prime Minister surely would be thumping the table and at every minister or secretary say to them, you have to, next week, I want you to come back and show me what you're going to cut and how, and we'll discuss, but every one of you has to do it.
Well, he's already talked about cuts in the department.
But he's given in to the First Minister who says no.
Exactly. And I've been through this process and I've had to sit there when the Prime Minister at the time, who was Theresa May, said, right, every single department is going to make cuts. You need to tell me where they're coming from. So back in the Home Office, we had to have some very painful discussions about what it was that we were going to cut when we said we actually needed more money.
And the big department is welfare. The big department is welfare.
And then we come back to actually looking at something like pensions because of the huge costs that they are.
Well, yeah, pensions are a huge cost, but it's not pensions that you would immediately look at, is it? It's about all these other things.
But
I know pensions are the biggest part of the welfare bill. A lot of people complain. I know they are. But it's things like PIP. Isn't it? Personal independence payments, which are going to people because they're a bit stressed.
Yeah, which is why reviews are going on to try and deal with that. So on disability...
Review after review after review.
That we don't have.
So I wish we could keep it going because it's fascinating. However, we can't because we're out of time.
We've got lots more coming up, though.
Yeah, here's the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday. Cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Congestion is on the A4232 northbound between St Fagans and the M4 junction 33. 10-minute delays are due to a police incident on the M53 southbound at junction 3. 2 lanes are restricted on the M6 southbound near junction 10 in Walsall due to a broken down vehicle. The M1 northbound in Northamptonshire has 1 lane closed at junctions 15 and 15A after a road collision. The M4 eastbound near Windsor and Maidenhead has a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway services between Nuneaton and Rugby are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister's leadership is plunged into turmoil once again.
The resignations of Defence Secretary John Healey and the Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's brings the total number of politicians to leave Sir Keir's government to 22.
Well, with both accusing the Prime Minister of putting Britain in danger by failing to spend the money needed to defend the nation. Well, that comes despite everything that he's said in the past.
My first duty is obviously to keep this country safe. The first duty of the UK Prime Minister is the safety and security of our citizens. My first duty, the duty above everything else, is to keep our country safe.
Well, do stay with us on this developing story as we speak to Al Khan's about his resignation, as well as Business Secretary Peter Kyle and Reform UK's Richard Tice.
Of course, everyone's asking, is this latest blow to the Prime Minister's authority the very moment Sir Keir his fractured leadership really spirals out of control?
Yes, the Prime Minister's leadership is looking shakier than ever this morning with the resignation of arch-loyalist Defence Secretary. Can he survive this latest blow? Find out more with me very soon.
More breaking news, the economy shrank by 0.1% in April. It has been blamed, of course, on fuel price rises caused by the war in Iran.
Also coming up this hour, we'll be joined by the weather presenter Carol Kirkwood, who's telling us how she's making the most out of her recent retirement.
And in sport, well, the World Cup has begun with 3 red cards and a Mexico win at the legendary Azteca Stadium last night. The MD of England Cricket, Rob Key's considering an all-out alcohol ban for England players, so good luck with that one. And Emma Raducanu could find herself playing twice today. That's at Queen's as it was washed out yesterday.
Whilst there is a bit of rain around at the moment and quite a brisk breeze, for many by this afternoon it's looking drier and also warmer than it has been through much of this week. Stick around to find out more.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Oh dear. What is going on at the moment? It seems to be, frankly, absolute chaos. The Prime Minister, well, he's been under pressure for a long time. He's under even more this morning, following the resignation of his Defence Secretary, John Healey, and the Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan's.
And it's particularly the letters they wrote stating why they were standing down. Healey made some really brutal remarks, claiming the Prime Minister had failed to meet the moment with his long-delayed defence investment plan, leaving him no other option but to resign.
All right, let's get the review of Reform UK on this, should we? Richard Tice is standing by. Richard, good to see you this morning. So many people are left in disbelief at this, just by the very fact that a Defence Secretary and an Armed Forces Minister have both gone saying the country cannot be kept safe. That's shocking.
It's deeply shocking, and when you read their 2 resignation letters, it's even more shocking. I urge your viewers and listeners to do that. John Healey, he said that the Prime Minister was unable, brackets, in other words, he's a puppet, close brackets, is what he meant, and the Chancellor is unwilling to fund what is necessary to keep us safe. Literally, the Prime Minister is unable to keep us safe. He said that what was proposed in the long-awaited and still not produced defence investment plan is not enough, nowhere near the 3% that we've all been promised, that Reform has been saying is required since the general election. And then you look at Al Khan's letter, it's even more devastating when he says the defence investment plan, which Al Khan's had no involvement in, despite he's one of the most experienced veterans in Parliament, he said that it's essentially it's been prepared for the last war, not the next war, that it's completely unfit for purpose, It's not built for the threat we face. And he said, we're not a serious country. I mean, that's devastating stuff. He then went on to say that also the Northern Ireland Legacy Bill, again, is putting at risk our own veterans, our own armed forces when they become veterans, and he couldn't in all conscience stay with it. It's an absolutely eviscerating letter. He then goes on to say, the machinery of government has been left to decay, and decisions that should take days take months. This is an absolute indictment of Keir Starmer's leadership, and frankly, the Prime Minister should do what I urged him to do on Wednesday at PMQs and resign, and so should the Chancellor.
Yes, but the question is, what happens next, even if that were to happen? We can't do anything. I mean, this is what we hear from our viewers all the time. What can we do to change things? Or we just get another anonymous, or until now anonymous, person standing up to do those very important jobs and defend a Prime Minister who seems all the more indefensible?
Well, he's not prepared to defend the country. How the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, is going to try and pretend and bluster and waffle that the Defence Investment Plan, when it's produced, is good enough, when clearly from these letters it is not. It's woefully short on money and on what it plans to do. We need a new Prime Minister. I think you should perhaps ask Al Khan's, is he going to form part of a sort of leadership duo bid with John Healey, saying only they can keep the country safe, only they know what needs to be done. There's plenty of money, actually, in order to fund the sums required. You could scrap net stupid zero. You could stop paying welfare to overseas nationals. Between those two things, that would save £30 to £45 billion a year. You could stop paying voluntary interest on all the Bank of England printed money. That's another £15 to £20 billion a year. These are all the things that we've been talking about for month after month, for year after year for the last 2 years. And we've been proven right again and again.
Yeah, and yet, what this does highlight, and it's been highlighted over recent months, particularly since Iran, though a lot of people have known about it rumbling on in the background, but it highlights how important defence is, right? How vital it is and how poor it has become in this country. And yet, I mean, I know you clarified yesterday, Richard, that Nigel Farage is, as well as your leader, your defence spokesperson in Reform UK. You need to get serious on this, don't you? You need someone whose remit is entirely defence. It's clearly a big enough problem.
There's no one more serious than Nigel and Reform about defence, which is why we're the only political party at the general election to say we had to get to 3% of GDP on defence within 6 years. We'll have to get to 3.5% by about 2035. Of that, we are absolutely sure. And that which we do spend, you've got to spend it properly, wisely, on the technologies of the future, not, as Al Khan says, looking backwards, which is what the MOD and those who have prepared this plan seem to be doing. And it's, we're very conscious of that, which is why when I was in Ukraine a couple of years ago, I was meeting drone manufacturers and technology developers talking about, where drone technology is going into the future, and that's what we should be looking at.
Yes.
Sorry,
no, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, not questioning Nigel Farage's commitment to defence or the defence of this nation. Absolutely not. But it's about being ready for government, isn't it? Because that's where you want to be heading. And the Prime Minister is so weakened by this. Should there be a leadership election, and should a certain person who's currently a mayor get that job, he seems to be indicating at the moment that he may call, if that were all to happen, he may call a snap election. In which case, the question is Reform UK ready for that?
Oh, we will be more ready as and when a general election is called, and it won't be in the immediate future for sure. We will be more ready and more serious than any other political party. And you cannot claim that this government, this Prime Minister, is serious about governing when you've got ministers resigning saying it is not a serious country that is not prepared to fund itself properly to keep its own citizens safe and its own armed forces personnel safe when they're on operations.
Yes, and meanwhile, we apparently have reports of the SAS resigning almost en masse because they feel that they'll just face unlimited prosecutions in the future. We have very serious recruitment programmes for our armed forces, and we apparently have more illegal migrants in this country than members of our own armed forces. Is there anything more we can do other than, I suppose, use our votes when the time comes?
Well, that's what we'll be saying to people. Use your votes, because this government's chosen benefits over bullets. It's chosen welfare over warfare. Reform UK would properly fund our armed forces, properly protect them both when they're serving and after they've left, so that we would repeal any new legacy act that is put forward by this government in order to provide that security for our brave veterans. Of course, that is absolutely essential. Provide the money and buy the right equipment at the right price.
OK, Richard Tice, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Meanwhile, GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley, is with us. Well, what do you think of that? I mean, it's interesting. He's absolutely saying that it's Nigel Farage who is also our Defence Secretary, or proposed. So.
Yes, I wonder how long that line can hold for, because defence is obviously at the very top of the country's minds. Very often it comes up as number 1, 2 or 3, at least, on the list of issues that the country cares about. It's all very well to have the leader of the party as your defence spokesman, and Richard Tice's argument there is that it shows a real commitment to defence. But I think, as you say, it maybe looks as though Reform isn't taking defence that seriously.
It's too big a brief.
It's too big a brief, exactly. Nigel Farage is a very, very busy man. I wonder if Reform at some point soon will manage to wheel in some former army chief or navy chief to stand as their defence spokesman. I mean, that said, otherwise, it's a pretty easy morning for the opposition parties, I would say. The resignation of John Healey is a shocking blow for Keir Starmer. John Healey in Westminster circles is known as a sort of safe pair of hands. He's the man who's wheeled out on the media rounds when the government is having a tough time, because you know he'll be on the government's side. He'll say something that can sort of smooth things over. He's basically an arch-loyalist, but now he isn't an arch-loyalist anymore. And essentially, the Defence Investment Plan fell apart on Monday night. The Defence Secretary didn't have full sight of the Defence Investment Plan until Monday night. And at that point, it was a fait accompli. He didn't see it in its entirety until Monday. That's what he says in his resignation letter.
That's crazy.
That's terrible.
I mean, it's astonishing. And he'd obviously been part of conversations about it, etc., etc. But it wasn't until Monday when he knew exactly how much money the Treasury was committing to it. The figure that was given to John Healey was £13.5 billion. His allies say that actually when you dig into that number, it's not quite accurate. It's more like £10 billion of cash that the Prime Minister was offering, and another £3.5 billion of sort of Treasury trickery, not real money or money that wasn't going to come until too late into the next Parliament. Even £13.5 billion was £4.5 billion short of what he was promised. And at that point on Monday night, he basically made the decision that he couldn't go ahead with this. He couldn't stand up and present the Defence Investment Plan this morning, as was supposed to be the plan.
Which is interesting, because if they're £4.5 billion short on what he was promised, and last night the government announced it was spending £4.5 billion on the cycle and walking investment strategy.
Who won the argument?
Fascinating.
I mean, that's... it's about priorities, isn't it? And this is where... I mean, heck, we've been doing this such a long time. And I cannot get my head round this decision-making at the time when we know we are, in defence terms, in real peril.
Well, it does seem astonishing. And the big question now is, what will Dan Jarvis do? He's just got the job. The Defence Investment Plan is finished. It was ready for presenting this morning. Is Dan Jarvis going to just be the Prime Minister's puppet and stand up and present the Defence Investment Plan as it is, the one that John Healey could not abide, or is he going to insist on having some time to look at it, asking for more money? The one silver lining, I think, for the Prime Minister is that Meg Hillier, who led the welfare rebellion last year, that rebellion that stopped Keir Starmer pushing through those welfare changes, has now said that her backbenchers would be willing to climb down on welfare. So there may be be a little bit more money somewhere that Keir Starmer can dig out from behind the sofa for defence. But is it too late? We were promised this defence investment plan. We were promised we would see it by the G7, which is only a few weeks away now. Can it be rewritten in time? What will Dan Jarvis ask for? Surely he will demand quite a lot here, because it's a pretty poisoned chalice that he took on at 9 p.m. last night.
He too is a man of integrity, and he's got a background in the armed forces, a very distinguished one. One can't imagine him just walking in and saying, all right, I'll prepare it, I'll have the brass neck to just pretend I defend it.
No, exactly. And, you know, you might see, I don't think Dan Jarvis would do that, but some career politicians might be prepared to have that brass neck if it meant the possibility of being promoted in a future Sir Keir Starmer government. The problem for Keir Starmer is that lots of people in Westminster don't really believe that he'll be Prime Minister in a few months' time. So he doesn't have that sort of base of loyalty to build on. I suspect that Dan Jarvis is going to ask for quite a lot from this defence investment plan, and that's why he's been prepared to take on the job. But we'll have to see. Apparently he's going to be in front of cameras as early as this morning, poor man.
Yeah. All right, Olivia, for now, thank you very much indeed.
That will be pretty riveting to see how he's going to handle that.
It's like watching a car crash in slow motion.
It is, isn't it? The news recently has been riveting and extraordinarily depressing from time to time.
So. The weather's going to get better next week, though. Maybe that'll cheer us up a little bit. It's meant to be a heat wave next week, but let's see how the weekend is panning out with Alex Burkill.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday, cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Still to come, wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall in Downing Street right now? Well, we're keeping an eye on what's happening because I think some pretty big players are going to be arriving soon.
Yes, including the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis.
I think so.
Well, he'll say anything to the press, I bet not. But actually, coming up in a couple of minutes, we're going to be talking to the weather presenter Carol Kirkwood, or former weather presenter. She's retired, and she's going to be telling us how good that is in a moment.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Time for the Great British Giveaway now.
Oh, yes, please.
And of course, it's £76,543.21. Every penny of which would be really wonderful to get. Here's how to take part.
There's just 2 weeks left to make your summer sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543.21 in your bank. But hurry, there's just 2 weeks remaining.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, and this is going to be fascinating this morning. We hope we can give it a good long segment. We're going to be hearing from Al Carnes to find out exactly what is going through his mind, what was going through his mind, which prompted his resignation yesterday. In the meantime, as you wait for all that to happen, the timings on that, let's talk to Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearsall. Good morning, you two. I mean, it is going to be fascinating, Claire, actually, to hear from a man, one of two men from the Labour government, who, of course, now Reform and the Conservatives are both saying, oh, they're great men of integrity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Change your tune.
But I also think that Al Carnes needs to answer a few questions as to why he took to the airwaves yesterday, which I believe was not sanctioned by Number 10. Nobody knew anything about it, and he went completely rogue. And I think, whilst I applaud anybody's independent thinking, if you're a member of the government, that collective responsibility kicks in. So I'd like to know what his decision-making process was.
Did he actually resign on air? Basically.
No, well, it was pretty much written. It's either sack me or I have to resign. So it depends which way round. But it was quite
what he said earlier, though, he was there to steady the ship after John Healey went, that he was actually going to try and keep everything together.
But he hadn't run that plan past anybody in the government,
no, he hadn't.
Which is always a really tricky thing when you're dealing with government comms.
Was he being offered John Healey's job?
Well, that's what we thought, that it would be between Dan Jarvis and Al Carnes. So that he comes out and rubbishes the defence plan, well, that was quite clear he wasn't going to get the job, whatever happened. But he was still in position when he was doing it. And then suddenly he resigns and his letter drops. It was all a bit weird. It was just that the timing was terribly odd.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I suppose you have to say, then, is he then positioning himself, and was he, even from yesterday, positioning himself as a possible contender for the leadership?
That is possible.
It's always possible, and his name has been in the mix for some time. But I don't think you do yourself any favours by launching that broadside against your own government, because your own colleagues are going to say, well, hold up a second, how can we trust you if you're just going to go rogue at a moment's notice?
Yes,
I think the opposition think he's fantastic.
Yeah, but what is interesting with all of this is, I mean, both he and John Healey coming out shining, really, because what they're saying is, I mean, because they're acting as politicians working on principle rather than towing the party line.
Yes.
Which doesn't happen very often.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think, especially with John Healey, in answer to Anne's question, that Al Carnes' letter is really interesting, because he does stray a bit off the defence stuff. And if he was planning a leadership bid, then you can see there's bits from that letter which would sort of launch him onto that kind of path. He's also not just angry about the investment plan, he's also angry about the way Northern Ireland veterans have been treated and hauled back into court. So he made a big point of that as well, all of which, might be part of a leadership pitch.
Well, possibly.
It'll make that much more interesting.
I was going to say, I think that there's always those who believe that he is the next Prime Minister in waiting, but he's unfortunate that he doesn't have the rest of the experience. He's very good on defence. I mean, absolutely no question on that. But we've never heard from him on any other subject. So I think, we always have to be mindful that the Prime Minister has to be good at practically everything, which is sometimes why they fail.
That's an interesting point to make.
Well, let's have a look at Downing Street. Here is the Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis. I mean, look, he's a man who's served, who's been talked of very well. So we'll listen and see if he answers any questions.
Is that the voice of our man?
I don't know.
We've got a very loud...
We have a loud man down there.
Yes, Keith will be shouting.
But you see, that was interesting, because he was saying, are you just keeping the seat warm? Whoever that was that was shouting. Which is an interesting idea, because if he's
just stepping up to the mark.
If he's got that job and the Prime Minister ends up falling, will he keep the job? Would he want to keep the job? And also, how has he got the brass neck to go to the G7 in a few weeks and announce the defence investment plan, saying, well, we're adding an additional 0.08% of GDP to the defence budget?
Well, that's a really great question, and if somebody had been able to ask him that'd have been fine. Yes, he's got to try and sell a plan that his predecessor has completely rubbished, and loses 2 defence ministers in the process of doing it. Now, it's still not published yet, bear in mind, so there is still a chance that over the weekend there's some hurried recalculations.
But that's ridiculous in and of itself, isn't it? If you've lost a Defence Secretary and an Armed Forces Minister over the pitiful increases in defence spending, and which they say, we cannot move on this, this is absolutely what we've got to play with, and they resign, and suddenly there's a bit more money goes into the pot.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's going to be a hard sell to anybody, because why wouldn't you have made that if John Healey came to you and said, you know, Prime Minister, I'm going to resign? Why wouldn't you have had those discussions then? Because he was a very good Defence Secretary, an absolute star when it comes to steadying the ship. And as I say, nobody really knew who he was until yesterday. The majority of people would never have heard of him, but he's incredibly good. So I think anybody taking this over, I wouldn't want to be standing up there trying to sell this really bad plan to anybody, especially if I had been a member of the armed forces myself previously,
And how would
because
he
it's
ever
going to be
take any
former
questions?
colleagues.
Well,
how would he combat any questions being put to him today?
We'll soon find out. There will be defence questions between now and the NATO summit and the G7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frightening. You see, what's interesting, and what I mean, what I said, we're talking to Al Carnes shortly, but the idea that your biggest responsibility, right, you've got to protect the nation, but you've got to protect the men and women of the armed forces. They are the people to whom you owe a duty of care, and that is essential. Now, how do you go and represent them and promise them a duty of care if you know you're presenting a DIP that is nowhere near what it needs to be?
And I think that's going to be the new Defence Secretary's real problem, that he was also a member of the armed forces.
Well, exactly.
So these are colleagues, former colleagues and families of those individuals that he is going to have to come up with some kind of answer that sounds relatively sensible. And I don't know what that is. I don't think there is any kind of I suppose, nice words that you could put out there to say to people?
Well, truthful words. I mean, this is the thing. If he's going to spin a political line to members of the armed forces, well, that's appalling, frankly.
Yes, and the Chief of the Defence Staff had to write a letter to all our armed forces last night after what had happened, just to say, look, it's business as usual, please carry on, we're looking after you, you know, we do have that duty of care. But the fact you have to write that letter to actually to reassure them, I mean, these are the men and women who are putting their lives at risk all the time, and they want to know they've got the politicians behind them.
You wonder how reassuring a letter is going to be when, if you're based overseas and your family are also there, you're not going to feel very relieved that you've got a nicely worded letter, because you know full well that the defence spending isn't there and it isn't enough, and your loved one is putting their life on the line, and you as a family member are also pretty much at risk as well by being there.
Yeah. Right, you two, we're going to take a short break. Much more on this, including that interview with Al Carnes, in just a moment.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
you're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, any minute now we are going to be talking to Al Carnes, who, of course, is the man of the moment, made an incredibly dramatic exit from government yesterday following John Healey. But we can't get tuned in to him quite yet. We'll be crossing live to Westminster to speak to him in a couple of moments.
Yes, so in the meantime, sort of applies to those two. Should we talk about retirement? So I'm retiring in 8 years.
Yeah, I know you've got it all planned. You've got it
all planned.
I
I'm
had it
out.
all planned.
Yeah, well, you couldn't resist, could you, when I said come and work with me for a bit?
Absolutely.
It's true. Anyway, let's talk to someone who's recently retired and apparently is raving about it, and that is the weather presenter, Carol Kirkwood. Good morning, Carol. How is life?
Hello. Good morning, Stephen and Anne. It is amazing. I have to say, retirement is the best thing. Forget 8 years, Stephen. Go for much less than that.
Oh, I wish
Yeah.
I could.
What do you... I mean, I know retirement always looks interesting until you're in it, and then you sort of wake up one morning and think, what am I going to do with my day? Have you ever been through that, or did you know exactly what you were going to do?
I definitely haven't been through that, and in fact, retirement has been far busier for me than it ever was when I was working full-time. There's so much to do, so many opportunities, even down to stupid things like painting the house, putting up a shelf, that kind of thing. But travel is what myself and my husband Steve really want to do, and we've started doing that already. And you're now living to your timetable, not somebody else's. So you choose how you want to spend your day. It's brilliant.
Tell you what, I've always fancied pottery.
Oh, I fancy pottery.
I want to throw some pots. Have you tried that, Carol?
No, I haven't, not recently, although once I did in another programme and it just was a disaster. The pottery flew off the thing it was on and, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, but just in your everyday work, I mean, I know you must get people stopping you all the time. The first thing they say is, what's the weather going to be like? That must be intensely irritating. But, I mean, you've flown with the Red Arrows, you've been parachuting, you've done extraordinary things, as people seem to want weather presenters to do. I mean, are you not worried that actually retirement and just travelling a bit and doing up the house might get a bit boring?
Absolutely not. I just see it as the best is yet to come. There's so much opportunity out there. And one thing that I'm really keen on doing is making sure that my health is good enough to do that. So I'm really focusing on that. And recently I did the Bupa Mature Health Assessment. Now that is so that I know of any underlying health issues that may well have been there or not. It was surprising as well, because I thought things like my cholesterol would be through the roof, and was pleasantly happy to find out that that was not the case. But things like fitness as well. I thought I was fit. I'm not as fit as I thought I was. So that has made me determined to go into the next stage of my life with joie de vivre and enthusiasm, and just keep fit because I want to live a long and a healthy life.
Well, we do wish you a very long and a very happy retirement, Carol. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see your face on the telly.
Thank you. Thank you.
I won't even ask you what the weather's going to do for us today, but it's lovely to talk. Thank you.
No, how nice, though.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a busy retirement, that's the way. Right, still to come. We're going to be talking to the newly resigned or freshly resigned Armed Forces Minister, Al Carnes. That's coming up in a moment.
And then, of course, we're going to look through the newspapers with Claire and Nigel. Lots to talk about. First of all, though, the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
I I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however. Across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Which of us doesn't like a puffin? Which of us doesn't like a dolphin? I mean, come on, we love these creatures. I bet your fellow guest loves them. Let's ask him, shall we?
OK. Rafe, how do you feel about dolphins? Yeah, there's nothing uniquely British about the dolphin. There are very few uniquely British species. And the key point here is that it's young nations that use flora and fauna. Nations with a proud history and legacy such as Britain does, we celebrate our past, we celebrate our great achievements. Banknotes are a symbol of national identity and they are symbols of sovereignty. They rank right up there with the flag, the crown, with our coat of arms, and our honour system as symbols of the British nation. We live in an age now where people are so ignorant of history. Banknotes are one of the very few occasions when people actually get to be introduced to historical figures and learn about them.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
He or she is obliged to write an equality impact assessment for every single policy that Kingston Council does. This person has come up with something which is simply true. Women do more domestic tasks than men. Women like to look nice. This person has stated something true. For this, the Kingston Council has now, and I'll read it out, they've apologised. They've issued a statement. Guess what? They've launched an investigation. And now they're going to review their procedures. I mean, this is a woke doom spiral. And it's the faster we can get away from these equality impact assessments, the public sector equality duty that drives all this, the better.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Dorothea, how does it feel being here today, joining other veterans?
Everybody was so friendly in those days. We had one purpose in life, which was to free the world from Nazism and to get on with enjoying life. And it's so nice now that they're still looking to see if any of us are left, poor old dears, so they can say thank you and we can get together and talk about it. After the war, you simply didn't mention it. It went out of everybody's consciousness.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, there's two men of the hour this morning. One is the former Defence Secretary John Healey. The other one is the former Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes. Christopher Hope, our political editor, is down in Westminster with the man himself. Chris?
Morning, Steve. Yeah, with me now is Al Carnes, who quit last night as Armed Forces Minister. Al Carnes, why did you resign?
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the Defence Investment Plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served.
Will others follow you out the door? John Healey, of course, resigned before you. Any other ministers going today?
Hey, listen, that's down to them. I'm not going to talk for other people. On my principles, I've decided to leave the government now in the backbenches, and I'll fight just as hard as I did in government for the things I care about.
So Keir Starmer made a big speech on defence at the Munich Security Conference earlier this year. It's one of the signature policies that he says is important to him. Why can't he get keeping us safe right?
Well, this is actually about broader national security. It's about a bigger and more effective defensive force. But it's also about job security, it's about welfare security, it's about social security, it's about our nation feeling secure in the whole. If we have that, then we have unity of effort, and then we have an effective national security programme.
So it's a question of priorities. Why won't this government, say, cut the welfare budget and spend more money on the MOD?
Yeah, and that's often the case. People argue for welfare versus warfare. I've been clear that we need more into defence. I've been clear that the defence investment plan needs to be more transformative. But we've got to be really careful of making sure that the nation can get a good day's work, can get paid for a good day's work, that they can have a secure NHS, they have good schooling, good public services. And a lot of that is not about cutting the things that affect your lives and everybody else's lives on a day-to-day basis. So we've got to get the balance right. But the first principle, unifying role of any government, is to protect the nation, and we need to do that properly.
So the balance is wrong. Too much being spent on welfare right now.
I also think we need to be more innovative in how we find money for defence. There are a couple of mechanisms now, both in Europe and here, that we need to find more investment for small and medium enterprises to feed into the defence system. And the second bit, most importantly, which I've been critical about, is defence procurement. We must ensure every pound of tax-paying money is spent in the most effective capability, in the most efficient way, and we don't waste any more money.
Now, in your letter you make that point, don't you? We're buying for the last war while our adversaries arm for the next one. We're buying the wrong kit.
Well, the reality is that a lot of this legacy kit that's even coming in now wasn't ordered by us in the Labour government. It was ordered many, many years ago. And the change in Ukraine is moving so fast, unbelievably fast. Every 2 years it doubles in capability. And we've got to keep up with that. It's a very difficult thing to square. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task for John Healey within a dip. It's not an easy task for Keir Starmer to balance the books, because that technology is moving unbelievably fast. I want to see more of it in the dip. I want to see a higher percentage to uncrewed systems, AI, data. Data is the new gunpowder, and we've got to move that forward if we're going to win the next war.
You mentioned the dip, the defence investment plan. How big should it be? We're told that you're offered $13 billion by the Treasury.
Yeah, so my view, the government needs to move on that. But I also...
To what?
Well, the reality is that's for the experts. I was never included in the dip. I got into it last 2 weeks, and when I had a look at it, I didn't think it was transformative enough. So I understand why Number 10 would have pushed back a little bit. But I also recognise that Number 10 needs to ease and put more money into defence. But we've got to buy the right kit, not the wrong kit or legacy systems that will not serve our soldiers, sailors and airmen and women well in the next conflict.
You resigned over money and the Veterans Bill. Why is that not fit for purpose?
Well, the Veterans Bill is really clear from my perspective. We're creating a hierarchy of truth in Northern Ireland. One is around legacy inquests and inquiries, and the other one's around the Independent Commission. My view is the Independent Commission should be the only body to seek truth, reconciliation and justice. Some of those inquests need to continue, but I'd like to see that the majority of them, if not all of them, pushed into the independent inquiry, mirroring the same way that South Africa did its reconciliation. So we don't drag our veterans back to court, and importantly, we don't rewrite history. 90% of all the casualties in Northern Ireland were caused by who? By terrorists.
The Veterans Bill, of course, means your former comrades in arms, they feel less protected by the state.
Well, the reality is we've got to protect them. We're asking them to do extraordinary things. The other piece, I'll be really clear, we will hold our armed forces to the highest level of legal scrutiny, without a shadow of doubt. I'm not going to shy away from that. But on the same hand, 70, 80-year-old veterans being dragged to court, I'm not too keen on in any way, shape or form. And secondly, is who is this playing to? It's actually playing to Republicans, Sinn Féin. They lost the war through physical means, and now they're trying to achieve it through political means. And I don't want to see anyone rewriting history to see Britain as the aggressor or in the wrong. We were in the right. We were sent there to protect lives. I served in Northern Ireland in 2003.
Your letter last night called for a new way of governing. So you want the PM to go?
No, I talk about a new way of governing is the system that sits in the way in which we enact our governance. So below the ministers we have a sprawling system, and I'll be really clear, there's some amazing people in there, like real talent. I want to have the best state civilian service in the world, and importantly, I want to make sure the way we govern is fast enough to meet the population's expectations and the speed of transformation and technology.
So in terms of the PM's future, I'll ask again, should he go?
No, I think PM needs to stay. We need to steady the ship. Dan Jarvis has just gone into Defence as Secretary of State. He's a good man, parachute regiment background, good soldier in his day, so he'll have a good hand in steadying the portfolio. What I just say is we need to get the transformation into the Defence Investment Plan, and we need the government to find more resource to move this forward as fast as we can.
In terms of your own future, You said you'll never run away from fire. If there's a challenge there, you'll take it. Will you be standing for leadership if there's a contest?
No, so throughout my career, I've always been one of service. I will always serve the country first and foremost. But throughout my career, I've always had a saying that always run to the sound of gunfire. Because often where the crisis needs the best people to sort it out. So I'll always try and help where I can.
So you'd want to go for it?
No, I'll always try and help wherever I can, whatever job that may be. Maybe a junior ministerial role, maybe any role across government. But also, as a backbencher now, I'm going to continue to fight for the things I really care for. And I can speak frankly because I'm not in the government anymore.
Who do you blame for this mess? Is it the Treasury's intransigence, refusal to change?
I've been really clear on this. It's a combination of both. One, we need to find more money. That's the Treasury. That is the system. The second one is the Defence Investment Plan was never transformative enough to convince people that the money was going in the right place.
And that's why it needs more money. I wonder why the Treasury can't see that.
Well, there's a bit of, when they look into the DIP, they see, or the Defence Investment Plan, they see old capabilities that are no longer being proved relevant in Ukraine. So I can understand their perspective. The reality is we spend time fighting each other for money rather than coming to a collective agreement that the country needs to move forward in a positive manner and put the right capability in the hands of our Army, Navy and Air Force.
Would any other government be better? Obviously, you're a Labour MP, I understand that, but other parties talk a bigger game on defence, maybe without the limits of being in charge and have to spend the money.
The joys of opposition. I mean, the reality is the headwinds. We have a more difficult geopolitical situation than ever before in history. War in the Middle East, war in Ukraine, 1.5 million casualties circa in Russia. That's more casualties than America took in the entire Second World War. No government's going to come in and wave a magic wand and find solutions. What we do need is a new way of governing that is in parallel to the speed of which the population need. And importantly, above all else, we need to round off this defence investment plan to make sure it's fit for purpose.
I mean, surely yesterday it should have been Rachel Reeves going, maybe not John Healey. She seems to be the one who was unwilling to spend the money required to keep us safe, according to the letters exchanged.
Well, leadership is only ever, you're only ever as good as your team, and you've got to get your team to agree and unify around common principles and priorities. That's the critical component here, and everybody needs to give a bit away.
What is Keir Starmer's weakness as a leader? You're a leader. You've served with distinction in our armed forces. Why is Keir Starmer not leading properly?
So the reality is, I haven't been in a lot of these discussions. I wasn't including the Defence Investment Plan, and I haven't been sat around the table. I've sat in the last 2 years, I've been formally in Number 10 to speak to Keir Starmer once. So I can't comment on those. My view is Keir Starmer is an honest and integral and a good man. He's trying his best, and anybody in that position will be under some of the same headwinds.
But anyone else in that position faces those same headwinds. Why will changing a leader work? Or do you think the PM should just keep going, carry on, and be PM for the next election?
It's not for me to comment on leadership races and competitions and infighting that's going on. The job is to get it done for defence. I've taken a stance to step out of government so I can be a bit more vocal and push the system. That's what I tried to do. If I achieve even a percentage point of the Liberals, I'll be happy.
Were you thinking about resigning for quite a while? Did it all bubble up? And why do it now? Why do it a week before a crucial by-election? I mean, it's a difficult time right now for Labour.
Well, there's two things I've been considering for a long time. One is the Northern Ireland Legacy Act, and I've been on the cusp of resigning a couple of times on that. And secondly was around not being included in the Defence Investment Plan, which I've 24 years experience and probably more combat experience than most. I know what the armed forces need, and I also know how to challenge the armed forces on some preconceived ideas of what they think they need. And I wasn't included in that, and I was pretty grumpy about it.
You're grumpy. Are you emotional too? You're someone who gave your life to our country. You've served with distinction in the battlefield, the military situation. Now you've been trying to do politics. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'd say politics is what you think, but it's also how you feel. And I'm not going to change my principles for anybody or anything. And I want to protect this country. I want to make sure the people that serve and have served and their families are well looked after. But also I want to take this country by the scruff of its neck and make it great again and move it in the right direction. And that's why I've taken a stance out of government to help jiggle the system along.
Al Carnes, thank you for joining us. Al Carnes, the former Armed Forces Minister, making clear there's a future for him somewhere in the future in maybe running the country one day. We'll wait and see.
OK. Chris, thanks very much indeed. We've only got a minute left. Let's have a quick word with Nigel and Claire. on this one. Claire, what did you make of that?
I was disappointed. I thought that he was going to light a fire under the government, and he stopped so short of doing it. So it's very, very disappointing in my book.
I didn't get an answer to the crucial question: is he thinking of going to challenge for the leadership? He wouldn't answer either way.
No, of course not. He's now doing the political thing. I have to say, nothing he said there lit a light underneath any of our viewers and their comments too. Nobody seems to have found him very interesting.
I know, and I think that's a real shame, because I think he showed promise and people thought he had a little bit of chutzpah last night, and he's gone back to being a politician in very safe hands and keeping away from the difficult subjects again. I really wish he'd stand up for himself.
OK, interesting. You two, thank you very much indeed. Well, we're going to be talking to the government in a moment. We're going to talk to Peter Carr, the Business and Trade Secretary. That's going to be an interesting one, so you don't want to miss that.
No, how's he going to defend what's just happened in the last 24 hours? Right now, let's get your weather with Alex Burkill.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split through into Saturday, cloudier across northern parts, showery outbreaks of rain, perhaps edging a bit further southwards across more northern parts of England through the day, but none of it looks especially heavy. Central southern parts of England and Wales having a largely fine picture, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue sky, and with that feeling relatively warm, even if temperatures on paper aren't too dissimilar to today. In fact, for some of us, it's going to be a touch fresher. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M8 westbound between junctions 15 and 16, a broken down vehicle is causing restrictions. On the M4 eastbound at junction 33 near Capel Llanilturn, congestion is building on the off-slip. In Durham, the A19 northbound between the junctions with the A181 and the A182 near Easington has a broken down vehicle with one lane closed. Normal traffic is expected between 9:30 and 9:45 this morning, and on the trains, major disruption affects South Western Railway between Bournemouth and Weymouth, and Avanti West Coast services between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister's leadership is plunged into turmoil.
The resignations of Defence Secretary John Healey and the Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's brings the total number of politicians leaving Sir Keir's government over the months is 22. Well, speaking to GB News in the last few minutes, Al Khan's told us why he stepped down from his position.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the defence investment plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served.
In the last hour, we've seen the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, arrive at Downing Street, not answering any questions, no surprise there. Earlier, former Security Minister Tom Tugendhat had a pretty strong message for government.
Effectively, what the Prime Minister did was he asked the Defence Secretary, he asked the Minister of Armed Forces, Al Khan's, to preside over the death of the Royal Navy, and they both said no.
Well, Reform UK's deputy leader, Richard Tice, said the government has chosen benefits over bullets.
This government's chosen benefits over bullets, it's chosen welfare over warfare. Reform UK would properly fund our armed forces, properly protect them both when they're serving and after they've left.
Well, it's a big blow, there's no doubt about it, to the Prime Minister's authority. Is his leadership now spinning out of control?
Yes, the Prime Minister's grip on power is looking shakier than ever this morning after the resignation of arch-loyalist Defence Secretary John Healey. The Prime Minister still vows to cling on, but does anyone believe that's realistic? Find out more with me very soon.
And more news that just broke earlier on this morning. The economy has shrunk by 0.1% in April. It's been blamed on fuel prices caused by the Iran war.
Whilst there is a bit of rain around at the moment and quite a brisk breeze for many by this afternoon, it's looking dry and also warmer than it has been through much of this week. Stick around to find out more.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Oh dear, I mean, honestly.
OK, well, I mean, like I said, anything Al Khan said hasn't really lit a fire underneath anyone, I don't think, at the moment. Alison's been in touch. Morning, Alison. She says, I was disappointed with Al Khan's. I thought he was going to tell us what's been going on. Instead, he praised Keir Starmer and said he was an honest man. He's still towing the party line. How can he say 1 minute he's resigned because of veterans being prosecuted for their service and then laud the Prime Minister?
Interesting. It felt like he was still being very, very political, didn't it? Well, I can understand the disappointment there. In a way, you want someone to come out fighting. We've not heard from John Healey yet.
No.
Whether he will come out fight. He's always been such a loyalist to the Prime. I mean, we had him on this show a couple of weeks ago defending the Prime Minister.
I think anyone who's ever seen John Healey before, unless you know him, I suppose, and you've heard him speak, you would not have thought he would write such a vicious letter. It was
vicious.
A brutal letter, wasn't it? His resignation letter to the Prime Minister. So he will be an interesting interviewee, whoever gets him.
Well, yeah, whenever it happens. I have to say, you've not been overly impressed with what you heard from Mr. Carnes earlier this morning, but this is why he says he stepped down. Oh, we haven't got that.
No, I think...
no,
it's not in the computer for some reason.
Well, there you go. That's technology for you. Meanwhile, what John Healey said, as Anne said, it was a vicious resignation letter. He criticised Keir Starmer's inability to spend the money needed to defend the country. As a result, he argued, the DIP, the Defence Investment Plan, that thing we've been waiting for since October, should have been published this week, is actually making the country less safe.
Well, we're joined now by GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Have you heard yet whether or not the DIP is going to be announced at any point today?
Well, we still don't know. On the one hand, it would be almost extraordinary if Dan Jarvis, having taken on this new role as Defence Secretary, was prepared to accept the Defence Investment Plan as it stands, something that his former colleague, John Healey, has said would be completely impossible and would make the country less safe. You wonder why Dan Jarvis would take on the role unless he thinks that he can make some meaningful adjustments to the Defence Investment Plan. But we are expecting to perhaps see him at some point today. What's he going to say? What can he say that can sort of salvage this mess of a situation? What happened, essentially, was that John Healey wasn't given full sight of the entire Defence Investment Plan until Monday evening. He didn't know exactly how much money was going to be committed to defence over the next few years. And when he found out that it would be 13.5 billion, and actually he says that it's closer to 10 billion in actual cash, the extra 3.5 billion he calls Treasury trickery, or his people call Treasury trickery. He said that's 4.5 billion short of what he was expected and what was needed to keep the country safe. And at that point, he simply decided that he couldn't go any further. People who saw him in Westminster yesterday says he seemed very cheerful. He had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and suddenly it was lifted at the moment when he decided that he just couldn't go on any longer. We've had Tom Tugendhat, we've had Ben Wallace, former Defence Secretary, come out and say that he'd been giving that message to John Healey for years and years, and Healey hadn't listened. Well, Healey seems to be listening now. Extraordinary situation for the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, to find himself in. The problem is, in ordinary circumstances, you've got a Prime Minister with an enormous majority here, just 3 seats short of what Tony Blair achieved in 1997. You would think that any junior minister, as Dan Jarvis was, would be keen to take on a role like Defence Secretary in any circumstances, because there would be hope for promotion in the future. But as it is, lots of people in Westminster don't really believe that Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister in a few years' time, a few months' time, which takes away that power from him. So what has Dan Jarvis asked for in agreeing to take this role? He is a veteran. He is well respected in Parliament and outside of it. He has a long political career and a long military career. Is he going to demand more money? And if so, where would that money come from?
Well, it begs the question, if he has demanded more money and if he gets more money, why wasn't that money provided when John Healey was asking for it? Why wasn't it provided when Al Khan was making it clear he wasn't happy with the DIP?
Exactly. I mean, I think there's a couple of things going on there. One of them is that the Welfare Rebellion group, which was led by Meg Hillier, Labour MP, last year, that group of backbench MPs, which essentially forced Keir Starmer to reverse those welfare cuts, those MPs have now said that they would be willing to shift. So maybe there's a little bit more money coming out from somewhere. The other question is, if Dan Jarvis has asked for more money for the DIP, it could just be a case, and if this is true, then it will get Keir Starmer into a lot of hot water, of Keir Starmer just not quite having the political nous to realise the urgency of a situation. This is what he's accused of by Labour MPs I've spoken to again and again. He just doesn't understand the urgency. Did he not realise that his Defence Secretary was on his last, the straw was about to break the camel's back. Did he not understand that? And if so, why not? Is this a question of Keir Starmer just lacking political judgment?
But this could also be an incredibly short tenure for Dan Jarvis, couldn't it? Because if he does go... Well, he has accepted the position, hasn't he? But, I mean, if there is a leadership election, he could find himself out of a job within weeks.
We were just talking outside about some of the shortest-serving ministers. Michelle Donnellan served for 1 day in the Department of Education. Nadeem Zahawi was Chancellor for 2 days. Dan Jarvis can perhaps hope for a little bit longer than that. It is possible that the new Prime Minister, whoever it is, if indeed there is one, would decide to keep on someone like Dan Jarvis, and perhaps that's part of the reason why he's accepted the role. He is a respected figure. This would be the most senior position that he'd had in government. We will have to see when we see him, hopefully later today or at least early next week. I don't think the government can push this defence investment plan back very much further. The Prime Minister has promised again and again that we will see it by the G7 summit, which is in just a few weeks' time. So we will hear from Dan Jarvis sooner rather than later.
We're also in danger of turning up to the G7 with the DIP figures out there and being a laughingstock.
Well, exactly. I mean, once upon a time, Britain was known as a leader in NATO. We were famed for always giving, more to NATO than other countries. We had the highest percentage of GDP given to NATO. These days, that is just not the case. The DIP, as it stands, was going to put defence investment up to 2.6% by next year. That is well short of the 3%, 3.5% that army chiefs are calling for. It is possible that if it is as it stands, then we could be a laughingstock in NATO. And it could be that other NATO countries simply think that Britain could not defend itself. That is an awful position for this country to be in. And perhaps that's why John Healey thought he didn't want to be any part of it, wash his hands of the whole situation.
You can't help wondering why would Dan Jarvis want to be part of it either.
That's a very good question. All right, let's talk to the Business and Trade Secretary, Peter Kyle. Good morning to you, Minister. It's nice to see you. Look, we were just talking about the defence...
Yes, nice to see you too.
We were just talking about the Defence Investment Plan, the DIP, and obviously the Defence Secretary has resigned over that, saying it's actually would put our country at greater risk. When it is presented, and it's going to have to be presented very, very soon, isn't it? Will it be presented in its current form?
Well, it was being finalised anyway. So Dan Jarvis, of course, who has a distinct, he served with distinction in both Afghanistan and Iraq, has now come in as Defence Secretary, and that plan is now being finalised. But I listened to the conversation that you had
hold on,
before
forgive me. It was meant to be released on Monday and then yesterday, so it surely has been finalised already.
We've committed to publishing the plan before the NATO summit, and as you said in your introduction, that is in just a couple of weeks' time, and it will be published at that point, or certainly before that point. So Dan has come in at the point where the plan is being finalised. I know he will be hard at work now and using all of his experience as a major in the parachute regiment in order to make sure that this plan is the right plan for the moment we're in, which is a challenging, historic, also very important moment in our country's defensive period.
And yet the former Defence Secretary, John Healey, had no faith in the plan and what it was promising. And he was a man of integrity and a great deal of experience. If it's not good enough for him, why is it good enough for Dan Jarvis, unless there are major changes?
Well, just look at the work we have already done. You will know that we went into the last election promising to spend 2.5% on defence by 2030. Actually, we've delivered that years ahead of the end of this Parliament, and we will get by the early next stages of the next Parliament to 3% and then 3.5% by 2035. All along a growing economy, of course, because a growing economy means that percentage point is actually a larger amount of cash. We've also pledged to spend £270 billion over the course of this Parliament. We have taken difficult decisions all the way through government to get to this point. Don't forget the first resignation last year from Cabinet was because we switched spending from overseas aid into the defence budget. We have taken these difficult decisions. Keir Starmer has taken these difficult decisions, even though he knows it's challenging for some people, but he has not deviated from delivering the defence and security circumstances that our country deserves in the moment we're living in.
Well, he has, according to your former Defence Secretary and your former Armed Forces Minister. And by the looks of it, I mean, all the sums, it would seem like what John Healey was particularly annoyed about was the fact that it was falling approximately 4.5 billion short of what he said was absolutely necessary, the basic level. Interesting that last night you announced 4.5 billion to spend over the next 5 years on cycle and walking investment strategy. You've got your priorities wrong, haven't you?
No, we have invested £270 billion, £270 billion over the course of this Parliament. Now, government can do more than two things at the same time. And you realise that we've also increased investment into the NHS. I don't think your viewers would want us not to do that. We've stopped the roofs falling in on schools, which is what we inherited. Right the way across our public services and our economy, it was starved of investment for too long. So there are lots of needs in our economy. Of course, the number one duty of a government is to invest in our defence service and make sure it's fit for purpose. And I'm not going to apologise for making sure that we strive to make sure this money is appropriate and the plan is appropriate. Too many times in the past, we've had defence projects that have gone over budget, they have come in years late, they have been poorly managed, and they have not been delivered appropriately for the times that we were living in then. We are not going to allow that to happen.
Well,
so if we have to take a little bit more time to get this right, we have taken that time.
But except that's the exact opposite of what your former Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan's, has said. It says a defence investment plan prepared for the last war, not the next war.
Well, wait for this plan to come out, and I'm very happy because you know that I'm very dedicated to your viewership, and I will come back. Well, wait till the plan is finalised and it is released. It is laid before Parliament. This plan will be scrutinised by Parliament. It will be scrutinised by the media, but most importantly of all, it will be scrutinised by the people serving in our armed forces and the people of our country. It will be out soon, and I will be out here available because you know how dedicated I am to your viewers.
Yeah, dedication isn't quite enough, though, is it? Because our viewers are very worried at the moment that we have a Prime Minister who has just lost his Defence Secretary. He's lost Al Khan's. He's lost several others as well, have resigned. And every former head of the British forces seems to be coming out and saying, we cannot defend our country. Our Prime Minister is failing in what should be his primary reason for being, which is defending the country, and he can't do it. What sort of a Prime Minister is that?
Let me just tell you this very, very bluntly. In the period before we came into office, they reduced spending on defence. It went down to 2.3%.
Yeah, but believe me, that is not the point. The point is that whatever you inherited, you need to be taking action now, and that is what the DIP is meant to be all about. These people are speaking now, and they're saying you can't defend the country.
As I was saying, so we inherited a situation where the armed forces have been defunded previously. When we came in, we have signed 1,400 defence contracts since we've been in. We have lifted spending into the defence services by a historic amount, in fact the most amount since the Cold War. These are things we've done before the plan is released in the next period, before the NATO summit, and that is the point at which we lay out the plans for the next decade ahead. So we have come into office on a period where armed forces had been laid bare by some of the decisions made previously. You can't turn these things around overnight, but we got straight down to it, signing the contracts, giving a pay rise to the people serving in our armed forces, and investing historic amounts of money, 270 billion, over the course of this Parliament. These are the things that we have done, and compare that the action, the sense of purpose, the clarity of vision of this Prime Minister compared to what he is replacing, and you see a government that is delivering for our armed forces, delivering for our defence and security, and nothing will take us away from that purpose.
OK. Peter Kyle, good to talk to you. We'll hold you to seeing you again. I'll pay for the taxi myself to get you in the studio. Would be good to see you in the flesh. Thank you.
I've never said no. I've never said no.
Well, that's what I should say that to a few of your colleagues. Have a word with Yvette Cooper for us. Thank you.
General Sir Richard Barrons, who's one of the 3 experts who wrote the government's 2025 Defence Review, has said that John Healey's resignation and the decisions that prompted it shows that the government is going backwards on defence spending. You just get word salad from these people, don't you?
Well, he's got a tough job being put up for the thing this morning, but I know it's... Anyway, I'm sure you've got your own thoughts.
Yes.
Send them through gbnews.com/yourso. We're going to take a short break. Back in a moment.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bo, they are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story. Big story over here. You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
What a mess this all is, frankly. Let's talk to someone who's bound to have an opinion on this.
Oh, yes.
Rich Hughes, who's chair of the Western Front Association. Good to see you this morning.
Nice to be here.
What do you make of all this? Everything that's going on, defence from government, attacks from
Headlines that say we
chiefs.
cannot defend our country.
Look, the Western Front Association is an educational charity, and we look at the history. We try and keep our finger on the pulse of history. And if you look at the experience of this country in the last 200 years, we start from the First World War. And it is undoubtedly the case that we went into the First World War unprepared. We had to fight a war that we were not prepared for. We had to change our army radically. And as we come up to the 110th anniversary of the Battle of Somme, we reflect on an army that was put together at high speed to fight an awful battle. We went into the Second World War unprepared. We had the period of appeasement running up to the war with Churchill railing against what was happening. And in many senses, we got away with it. You know, Dunkirk, the Battle of Britain were desperate. And we try not to take a party political position, but we do reflect on history. And we ask all politicians to reflect on how we have got to where we are and to look at the lessons of history. Now, my father's generation fought in the Second World War. My grandfather's generation fought in the Great War. We've had this so-called peace bounty since the Second World War, where we had the umbrella that the Americans have protected us with. And that's going away. And it's going away at the same time as the Russians are getting more and more aggressive. And any number of senior British generals have appeared on this programme and other news channels in the last few years talking about these dangers. And we would appeal to politicians of every ilk, whether it be Conservatives, Labour, Reform, anyone who is responsible for the safety of this country, to look at the history. We can't just hide. And every day the RAF are confronting the Russians in the air. Every day the Royal Navy is trying to protect our critical infrastructure from the Russians. This is happening now. And there's no doubt at all that once the Russians get back on their feet after Ukraine, I think we can start to anticipate provocations, particularly in the northern Baltic area. We have to be alert to this now.
What about national service? I keep coming back to this, I suppose, but it's because we have a generation of NEETs, youngsters who are not in employment or education or training. Wouldn't it be a good idea to actually amass that force, teach them how to serve? They don't have to go into the armed forces ultimately, but just in case we needed them, we'd have them.
I mean, as you know, many countries do have some kind of national service. I certainly would not be averse to having a national service where young people are certainly encouraged to serve. And, you know, you mentioned NEETs a second ago. It seems to me extraordinary that we've got so many people, young people, whose time is not being gainfully used. Surely we must be able to do something about that.
It was just a thought.
Yeah, and there's some kind of national service, whether military or quasi-military or socially driven, must be a good idea for those young people.
Yeah. All right, Rich, good to see you. Thank you. We just saw, actually, as we were talking to you, we saw the Chief of the Defence Staff leaving Number 10. I wonder what he's been having to say about all of this morning. Maybe we'll find out at some point.
Right, now it's time for Britain's Newsroom with Charlie and Miriam. Here they are.
Good morning, Stephen and Anne. Yes, we will have the latest on the political fallout of this double resignation. What does Dan Jarvis have coming into office? Is it a poison chalice?
We'll also be going back to Belfast, speaking to our man Dougie Beattie on the ground there, and we'll be joined by Maggie Oliver after a major intervention from Baroness Louise Casey. All of that coming up after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, today is going to be the driest day of the week for many places, and it's going to be markedly warmer as well, but it's not looking totally dry, and there is quite a breeze around. At the moment, there is some rain around western parts, and that is feeding further eastwards, but it's breaking up as it goes, so many eastern parts staying largely dry, just a few spots of rain later on. Towards the northwest, particularly northern and western Scotland, here there will be plenty of blustery showers. Elsewhere, apart from a few spots of rain here and there, by the afternoon it's looking drier and brighter for many places, with temperatures higher than they have been recently. We're looking at highs around 23 or 24 Celsius towards the south-southeast. Into this evening, plenty more showery rain across much of Scotland, especially towards the northwest. Blustery winds as well to watch out for. But worth noting, the showers today, well, they're not looking as heavy or as thundery as many of the showers we've seen through this week. A few showers to end the day across perhaps parts of Northern Ireland, the far north of England as well, but across the rest of England and Wales, well, it's looking like a largely fine end to the day. Lots of clear skies, some late sunshine to look forward to as well. Overnight, a bit of a north-south split. Northern areas staying quite blustery, cloudy at times, and a fair bit of showery rain to come as well. Further south, it's a drier, clearer picture, but temperatures for most not really dropping a huge amount. A fairly mild night for many places, generally staying in double figures. Just a few prone spots, some sheltered glens perhaps of Scotland dropping into single digits. And then we stick with that north-south split.